You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. What happened? Hold on a second. What happened to the hey?
Yeah, I was thinking that on the way over here tonight. I was like, are we going to get a hey folks tonight? It's been that kind of week, man. Work is...
You said not a hey folks kind of week.
No.
that sets the mood, though.
All right.
All right, warm it up.
In 5, 4,
We're already live.
3.
We're already live.
Hey, folks. Welcome to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about
How we game.
Today's Thursday, and it's all about how you game. Live call-in show Thursday night. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Let's try again.
You're
Hello,
Carlos.
gentlemen.
You're Carlos.
I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
I'm Mike.
Wait.
Should I run the show today?
I think you should.
I forget how this
If you want
goes.
me to.
Yeah.
I got
I'm going to
Carlos
sit and
manning
enjoy
the
my
phone.
first
We didn't
beverage
get
of the
we
evening.
didn't
Just sit over there and
get
stew.
From Rob either.
Oh, yeah, that's-
There you
It
go.
hasn't been that kind of week for
Little
Rob
slow.
either.
No, it's been a
You guys
lot,
are just
but-
count the days to school starting.
Monday?
Jeez, Monday, right?
Monday,
Yeah.
Hillsborough and Pasco, I think, start Monday.
No, Monday.
Monday, yeah, Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
luck,
Thank God.
fellas.
I hate that. Like when they do the last few years, they've started like on Wednesday. Like who starts school on a Wednesday? Like
Yeah. That's what I was asking my wife. I was like, is it Tuesday or Wednesday this year? She's like, no, it's Monday. It's like, Monday? That's not right.
back in school.
Yeah. Get it back at school.
No, I think I'm okay with the Wednesday. Like, if I was going to school, because that would be a short week. It'd be a
Yeah.
nice short week to start with, kind of like a
Get it back in
primer.
school.
to
back
get
in
in there.
there. Get it back early.
Kind of like what we're doing here with these first 30 minutes. We're going to be
Yeah.
doing a primer to
Primer?
prime the conversation.
What you call that?
Yeah, a little primer,
Gonna prim the pump?
prime to pump, prim to pump.
Can't wait.
Get the conversation going.
What do you got on Monday?
I said, like, as soon as the kid goes to school, we have this tradition that we
Party.
Yeah, we do. We go get breakfast with mimosas and stuff with a bunch of other parents in the neighborhood.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
There you go.
Had the day off of work. Took the day off of work. Kid's gonna go to bus.
Wow.
That's
The parents take the day off of work to celebrate the kids going back to school.
Celebrate the end of
Yep.
that summer. Yeah. Well, interesting. Yeah.
I'll pray for the
Having
teachers.
around like camps all the time, man. It's a big-
Yeah.
Tell you what, that's no joke. We got to pick up another one. I think he did 3 camps this year. The oldest, or the middle boy. Wait, there's a lot of middle boys now.
Yeah. So you got like 4 of them. Too?
Julian, my
Okay.
17-year-old, at another camp. Picked him up last week from Busch Gardens. He went to camp and they gave him an iPad.
At Busch
A
Gardens.
freaking iPad. Well, he had it was a Tampa Police Academy
Oh,
camp
yeah.
that
Okay.
ended with a graduation at Busch Gardens
Cool.
and gave everybody a round of iPads.
That's
Like, there's our Tampa
tax
City dollars
Tax
going to
dollars
work.
going to
Taxpayer
work.
dollars to
Had,
work. Yeah.
Gen 2. Do you get a Gen 2 out there? Or
I have no clue. That technology stuff and that gaming stuff doesn't do it for me. But you know what does?
Sure, those came out
Board
of the
gaming.
Xbox.
Let's do it.
Board games. That's what
games
does it
do it
for
for
me.
you?
And then there's also stuff that I do outside of board games that makes me also want to do
What's that?
board gaming.
Oh, board games?
Board
Come
gaming.
on,
Board
Robs.
gaming.
You could think of at least one. Come on.
I really can't. No.
All right, start us off. Let's do this.
Okay. So here we go. One of my. So what we're talking here is about things, activities, hobbies outside of board gaming that drive your board gaming juices, that get you on a gaming or maybe even a specific game. And I think for me, the easiest ones tend to be in the visual media of like television and movies. I'm gonna start off with a harder one for me: audiobooks. Like audiobooks, which is right now my main source of intake for like literature has been audiobooks. And one of the audiobooks that I'm currently going through is Stephen Ambrose's Citizen Soldier, which is World War II, which every night that I'm listening to it pre-bed and I'm listening to these interviews of these, greatest generation veterans talk about their experiences. And maybe I think about it like there's a dichotomy to it, like a duplicity of I'm listening to the guys talk about their experiences, some of them horrible, and all I'm thinking about is I want to get some Memoir 44 to the table.
That's messed up. That's messed
Is that
up.
what you're thinking?
Yeah.
I want to play a historical war game. I want to, play my hand at being a leader and taking my troops and trying to see if I can do better than the historical outcomes. I think about the places that they talk about, the weapons that they use, the equipment that they used, and I think about the games that I play, Conflict of Heroes, Memoir 44, all these different war games, World War II war games the different tanks, and it gets me thinking about I want to play that type of a game. So the audiobooks, that medium gets my juices. Historical literature gets my juices going for war games.
All right.
Interesting.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Mike,
Who's up next? Yep.
All right. You gonna put the camera on me or?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Make you small. There you go.
Don't put the camera on me. I don't
You
care.
got it.
I got you, Mike. I got you.
Got the face for
Oh,
radio.
thanks, man. So going to the zoo makes me think about animals,
Was that one of Wayne's?
right? And one of my favorite animals at the zoo are foxes, right? So, of course, what does that make me think about? It makes me think about
Monopoly.
Cascadia.
Kenley.
Ray Fox Games and how much I hate those guys for screwing up Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down.
Jesus, really?
You
I
twisted
still
this.
want to play this
Fox
damn
experiment.
game.
I
haven't
see what
gotten it
you
to the
did.
table yet, but every time I go to the zoo and see the foxes, this is what I think of right here.
Wow.
Disappointment.
Tsukiyumi Full Moon Down.
Wow.
Still want to play it. Haven't played it yet.
What a negative guy.
Florida man arrested in Washington State attacking foxes.
That's my
That's yours.
first choice.
First
Wow.
choice. Oh, you got more than one.
Damn.
All right. You're up, Wayne.
Well, I mean, so he didn't quite steal mine then.
You
Okay,
thought
all right.
I know
I was going
what you
the other
thought
way
I
with
was
that.
going to go for.
Going the wrong way.
I was gonna say every time I go to the zoo or the aquarium, I come home and I start thinking about like Barron Park or New York Zoo or Arc Nova or any of those kind of games that Rec Raiders kind of like like. So yeah. So I mean, you go to the zoo, you go to the aquarium, you go to those things, you see the animals, and you think about all the games you have that kind of fit in that genre, and you come home and you want to play one of them. So yeah.
All right.
I will
James
go
Hodak in the chat
the
says
positive way for Mike's there.
Good call. Good call there, Wayne.
Mike may need some therapy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think we do have mental health benefits being Beans and Dice employees.
Is that what it
do.
is? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
You got a new
do you guys
package.
do vision
New
also?
package. Yeah. Dental vision.
Can you see this? Can you see this, Mike?
Hey, it's not after hours yet.
You saw it, so you don't need the vision plan. You're fine.
All right, Rob.
HR department has
All right.
declined your request for vision.
Well, every time I get into a submarine, I think about wanting to play underwater cities. It just like that. It's like I don't know. It's a weird thing, but every time I get into a submersible,
Yeah.
Glad you didn't get to that Titan Atlantic one. That what was it?
yeah, the one that
The submersible.
the Titanic. Yeah,
Too soon?
Ooh,
Too
yeah,
soon?
Too soon.
Okay.
Implosion there. And,
There you go.
No, I mean I'm gonna cop out, but I did actually put some thought into this. Last couple of days I had been thinking about it. I haven't been up at night thinking about it, but sometime during the day I've been like, what am I gonna do for the show? Because and I touched on this a little bit last time. I honestly don't think I've ever really been somewhere and been like, oh, that sparks my interest in playing the thing. I mean, I guess I could take the cheap way out and say, probably sometime if I watched a Star Wars movie, it ran through my head, one of the 600 different Star Wars games. I'm like, oh,
That
maybe I
counts.
want to play a Star Wars game or something like that. But I know you guys tried to push me a little bit in the right direction. Like, hey, you're an aquarium guy, you're a water guy. Doesn't that make you want to play, whatever, Aquatica or any deep sea games? But I really don't. I mean, I when I see other people playing games, I'm like, oh, I want to play that game. I want to get into that. I want to do that. But I don't know that I've ever had that moment where I've watched a movie or something. I guess when I'm watching the movie, I'm in the movie. When I'm at the aquarium, I'm doing the aquarium thing. I'm not thinking about playing games. So I don't know if that makes me less of a gamer. I don't have that spark that's like, oh, I got to go play whatever. But yeah, I don't know.
Rob is as deep as a rain puddle.
Exactly.
I was
really
going to
shallow.
say he's got the longest explanation for no game.
For
That's
somebody
what I was
who
gonna
doesn't have an
say.
answer. Well, I got to do something.
But
'cause
he
y'all are
has
gonna
a
give-
valid
Y'all are
point.
going to give 2 or 3 answers.
Rob's
so.
in the moment, right?
Yeah.
He's watching the movie. He's enjoying the movie. I have that ADD issue where
Yeah.
I'm at the movie
Yeah, you're thinking about
thinking of other stuff. So
Two or three
as an
things,
example of this happening, like in real time,
Yeah.
I took the kids to see the Spider-Man movie, the No Way Home.
Oh, is this your number
What-
2?
The most recent one. What was the most recent one in theaters? The Spider-Man with
Yeah,
all the different
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Mans in it. Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Yeah, into the Spider-Verse.
And in the middle of the movie, I'm online trying to find the Spider-Verse
In the movie?
Marvel United, like ordering it, and I think it actually got to the house that day.
Really?
So like that, because we went for the morning show,
Yeah.
the early showing, and I think by the end of that day, that copy was there. So in the middle of the movie, part of it is I'm watching my kids enjoy my boys together with me, having a blast, watching this movie, laughing, cutting up, enjoying themselves. And I'm thinking, how do I turn this into a board game? Like,
How do I bring that home?
I want them to laugh with me, right? Because a lot of board gaming for me is thinking about this game would fit this group perfectly, like this group of people, and I love seeing people's enjoyment with enjoying a game. So when I see someone like my kids enjoying Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, I'm like, ooh, Marvel United has that Spider-Verse version with the Doctor Strange mini combo.
This was your number 2. I didn't see this coming. Go ahead.
Segueing
man.
in,
This
yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And it let me buy Marvel United, Spider-Verse, add it to my collection. And then by that evening, the boys and I were playing. My oldest son's girlfriend was joining in. So I got to fulfill that feeling of like capitalize on that moment that they had of loving Spider-Man enough to get them all to the table for a game of Marvel United. So movie theater moment for me drove me into wanting to play a game.
Nice.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Rob was watching the movie, and that's it.
I was in
Well,
the
he's
movie.
in the movie.
I'm watching the movie, enjoying the movie.
All right. Before I go any further, I want to say I actually did give this some serious thought as well. And again, like Rob, I wasn't losing any sleep over it, but I was thinking like, what the hell do I do in my life that would make me think back? I got to play that game when I get home. And I honestly, I couldn't make the connection because I think I'm more of, if I'm doing something like I'm in it, like I'm kind of laser focused on something like that. I mean, the closest that maybe came to my mind was like watching F1 or racing, and Thunder Alley comes to mind. Oh yeah, that's a great game. That's not my number 2.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like, I really couldn't think of anything, so I just thought, I'm going to have a little fun with this, not making fun of the topic, but I got to present some games here. This is a board game show.
Well, you did better than me, yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So anyway, on to my number 2. So when I'm driving on the highway and I see Teslas on the road, I think to myself, I really don't care for that guy. And then I think, what else has he done in life? And then I start thinking, well, he's done SpaceX. And then I think, oh, space, I like space. That's kind of cool, which makes me think of the moon at night. And I look up. And then, of course, that makes me think of the 4-player trick-taking game Luna, right? Because this has to do with the phases of the moon. You've got your animals in it. Going back to the animal thing. This is lunar, I'm sorry.
Lunar.
So good, I forgot the last R. So this is my number 2. Whenever I think of Tesla and Elon Musk, I think of the 4-player trick taker Lunar.
Yeah,
That's a crazy cool cover, though. I don't think I've seen that cover. I love the dark light stuff on it. Like
yeah, it's kind of
That's
neat.
cool. Yeah.
That's really neat. Yeah.
well, it's okay, Mike, if you forget the R, like because you drop it off because we're bringing in our resident New Yorker who always adds R's
Lunar.
to everything.
Luna.
IDR. Yeah. Idea. Yeah. Anyway, Sam actually hit out at mine a little. I saw him posting her comment. And she's like, I think it's strange when people go to Carcassonne and want to play the game there. I don't think I would want to go to Barcelona and use my limited time to play the game. But
That is right up
guy.
Carlos's alley, though.
Not that guy.
I've actually done that a number of times. Like,
Really?
We went to UK last year, so we played Ticket to Ride London while we were in London. I played New York 1901 and New York Ticket to Ride New York, excuse me, in New York City. We went to Japan. I brought Sushi Go with me. So it's not that so I do kind of agree with him. I wouldn't bring a big 3-4 hour game to, whatever. But when I'm in a country and I have a small little pocket game or something that's quick and light that sort of themes to that country or themes to that city, I will bring it with me. Just like, hey, we're sitting in a pub, like having lunch. We could play Ticket to Ride London, right? Sitting and having fish and chips and a pint, playing Ticket to Ride London while sitting in London is kind of a cool thing. So like usually, and then even when I come back though, and I think that's part of why Let's Go to Japan hit so hard for me this summer was I had just been to Japan, had been to all the places in the game, And when I play that game, I'm like thinking about that trip. So I might not play Barcelona in Barcelona, but you can bet that when I get back from Barcelona, I'm probably going to play it and really dig into it because now I've been to that place. I can recognize the streets and names and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a little bit of what Sam said. I like the smaller games when I'm traveling. I'm not going to take 4 hours of a day to play a board game about a city in the city I'm visiting, but certainly I would play that 4-hour game when I get back. So yeah.
That's a thing. Yeah.
That's the reason I knew I liked you.
Yeah.
That is
You and Carlos have a similarity there, but
right. That's not a bucket list item because I mean it's on my desire to take a road trip, right? Like all the way up to like New York to go play like Ticket to Ride in Central Station or something, and then on the way there hit so many different stops that coincide with different board games, like hit like a Civil War battlefield and get some battle dang it,
Gettysburg.
Right, something like that, because Richard Borg has the Civil War version, which is eluding me right now. Of Memoir 44 was the original one. It's eluding me.
You own it back here somewhere.
I
right?
do.
Yeah.
I own it and I have it, but I would love to play that at an actual battlefield. Right, those are the kinds of stops I'd like to make on said desired road trip. That would be amazing.
Not the Battle Cry, is it?
Battle Cry.
There you go.
My man, Robert,
There it is.
right here.
Up there. I found it.
Yep. So like Battle Cry at a Civil War, battlefield.
So you've always talked about doing that, and I always thought it was cute. So you go, you take the picture. For me, it was more like, let's just set it up and pretend we're playing, and then just snap a quick photo so we can say, hey, look, I did the thing at the thing, but you actually want to play the game. I don't.
When you go to a restaurant
I don't
and you
understand
snap a picture to share of your plate of food,
Yeah.
do you not finish it?
I don't do that. But I don't take pictures of my
I
food.
will say,
I eat my
when
food.
I'm in a restaurant, I do think about eating food and what I want to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
In the
So,
moment. In the
I'm
moment.
in the moment, man.
I'll let you tie that into Sushi Go in just a moment.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
I got
It's
them lined
coming.
up here
It's
for
coming.
you.
Mike talked a little bit about mine. NASCAR in
Yeah.
particular drives that Thunder Alley juice. Is my number 3. NASCAR in particular drives the Thunder Alley juice.
You have played at the 24-hour.
Yeah.
Which I have played Thunder Alley. I've played Downforce and Pitch Car at the 24-hour races in Daytona, and Heat at Road Atlanta, the 10-hour Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta, which I'm planning my trip for that now for this year. But I also have set up during the NASCAR 500 here at the house. Max has joined us with Rob, and we've set up a game of Thunder Alley to play while watching. And I know Rob and I have done that before many times.
Sure.
When
let's do that
NASCAR's on, we play some Thunder Alley while watching NASCAR.
Yes.
So that sports is an easy, I think, connection to board games, right? Because you've got the football game. Roll for it. Fourth and goal.
Fourth and goal. There you go. Yeah, fourth and goal.
Fourth and goal.
Roll for it.
Blood Bowl is a football style game.
I thought you were going Blood Bowl. That's where I was headed. Yeah.
Baseball Highlights 2045. These are all, and this is all going to be encompassed in this one, where these sports games, when the big sporting events are on for that sport, I like to set up that game and play while having that sport on in the background, whatever that big event is.
And I'm the other way around. I'm watching the game, and then every now and then I'm taking a turn because he's making me play a game while I'm trying to watch the game. So, yeah, opposites.
Yeah,
I mean,
I like this summer. I've been doing soccer and board games, and the Olympics and board games, and it's something watching a sporting event while playing a game, and yeah.
Actually, you have been posting pictures like that.
I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Really, I like watching sporting events too, but like there's down times in a lot of those in every sporting event. So having a game and doing that. Although I had an epiphany today while I was playing a game while watching the Olympics. I'm like, why is there not like a Euro game where you're a country, right? And you're at the Summer Olympics and you're using your resources to like you can't win every medal in every sport, so you have to specialize in. So I don't know. That'd be cool.
Shh. Don't give it away.
We'll
We'll work on that after the show.
Right. Everyone plays a country. Some countries specialize in certain sports, whatever, and you have resources that you collect. And when
So can I be China and have like the 13year-old gymnast, which
all the diving medals? Yeah.
you can
change her date of birth?
have as
I
many
just want to be
13-year-old
Turkey and have
gymnasts
that
you
one
want.
dude with a gun.
Dad bod shows up, hand in pocket.
Sure.
Love that guy.
Did you see the photo afterwards? And we went home to his cat.
Yes, I saw a meme. It said, if something happens to this guy's cat, they're going to make 3 movies out of it.
Oh,
Yeah, there
gotcha.
you go.
He's going to John Wick
Little
it.
John Wick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's my cat sound effect, Mike? Well,
Get that cat out of here.
and Mike's up.
There is-
There it
you go.
is.
There's Mike. Throw it to Mike. All right.
That was my number 3.
Okay. Are you guys noticing, like, the whole first one was
Gray Fox?
talking about
Yeah, fox
foxes,
experiment,
and then
yeah.
I was talking about the moon. Are you guys catching on to that?
No.
No.
No? All right. Never mind.
I did. I saw the fox experiment in the back.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Before you winded, I said it. I did say fox
All
experiment.
right. What else you got over there?
Yeah, we got to zoom in the camera.
So what
Look at
else
the
do we
background.
think about when we think about animals?
Oh, there
Where
you
do
go.
animals live naturally? They live in the woods, in the forest, right? Sometimes in the deep wood. You got to
Oh, sword!
keep
I
your
got it!
eye
I
out
got
for
it!
the
Ding, ding, ding,
deep
ding.
wood.
Other way. There you go. Yeah. Oh, sword.
So of course, thinking of the deep woods makes me think of parks, because parks are in the woods. They're in the forest.
I thought I had that one. Nailed it.
This actually is a very good 5-player game that you're working down a path, stopping on spots that other people, you're blocking people along the way, you're gaining resources, and you are visiting parks. The artwork in this game is absolutely amazing. I think the expansion art, even though it is based off of the new style of art that they're doing for the national parks, I think it's pretty horrendous. But parks is my number 3 choice for when I think about animals.
I can agree with that. Anytime
And
I'm
going
getting
in the woods.
attacked by an animal or anytime I'm going in the woods,
There you
going
go.
in the woods, parks comes to mind.
Okay, see? We're on
There
the
you go.
same wavelength.
On the way there, it's the trails.
I meant going in the woods, like going number 1 or going number 2 in the woods.
Oh,
I'm thinking about
Jesus.
parks.
Speaking of wavelength, go ahead.
Anyway, go ahead, Wayne.
Oh my God.
Childish.
So what is this my number 1 now? Is this what we're doing?
No, this is
Oh.
no, sir.
Mike's got
going?
many more.
Let's
Mike's
go.
got many
All
more.
I think
I
we're
got
number
a few
3.
So
We'll see who can hang in the longest. I know I'm
Yeah,
going
see.
at least 5.
yeah, I got at least 5. So I think about certain holidays, and certain games come to mind when you talk about certain holidays. So like around Halloween, Final Girl or Arkham
Yes.
Horror, Elder Sign, those kind of things. Christmas
Oh, yeah.
time,
Mansions
got-
of Madness.
yeah. And then you've got there's a whole string of the little escape room in 18-card trick games, the holiday hijinks. So they got one for every holiday, right? Or you think about going back to like your Battlefield, like certain Memorial Day or Veterans Day. You think about playing military or historical games like Axis and Allies, D-Days, or that. So I always think of certain games, and even could be just the games you normally play at Christmas with your family that are just those, the Hues and Cues is always played at Christmas time in my house, even though I hate that game because I can't tell colors for shit.
Nice.
I think I actually might be colorblind or something because I'm just bad at that game. But you think about the games you play at certain holiday times with family members, and the moment you come to Christmas season, you're automatically thinking about, okay, I guess we're gonna get this game in this time period. So that would be my whatever we're on now.
The next one. The next one.
To me, that sounds like Patchwork, right? Because I have like every holiday version of
Every holiday
Patchwork.
edition of Patchwork, yeah.
Right. So
Now
I
they're
want to
doing
bust.
Now they're doing it with Boop, right? You have
Yeah, I saw the new one at Gen Con with the Boop tree,
Yeah.
like the Christmas tree.
a cat knocking down a Christmas tree. I mean, that's pretty.
It makes sense.
Makes sense.
Watch out for the
Perfect
cat,
sense.
Chevy Chase, right?
Rob,
My number
Let's go,
4. Yeah, Rob.
Yeah. Still nothing.
He's still
zero.
here, just acting like the peanut gallery.
Still, I'm just trying to
talking
chime
trash
in.
about
Yeah.
our list.
Yeah. Y'all suck.
I'm gonna go with one that I've done. Which was Robert should have thought of this on our trip to Louisiana for Sobo. We stopped and stayed in Nolens, and in Nolens we set up and played Orleans. It's that tie-in again, so this is a moment where I actually did it and I enjoyed it,
Completely the wrong place.
and I won.
Orleans, a region of France. You know that, right?
Well, so
French
was
Quarter.
so close enough. Same region that has the hurricanes. That's where it came from.
The
hurricane drinks?
The hurricane. Yeah.
The hurricane drinks
region.
that came from France.
Yeah.
So we played Orleans in New Orleans and had a great time.
Close enough.
So that's me tying in a city that I'm visiting for the first time with a game that we enjoy.
Completely different city.
It's still, hey man, this is
It's
what made
spelled
me
the
think about
same.
playing that game though.
But it did. It's spelled the
It's
same.
New Orleans.
We visited
city
the World War II
Dressed as another
museum.
city, playing a different city.
Exactly. There you go. It's a city
Dude,
dressed as a
disguised
city.
as a dude, playing another dude.
I mean, I thought of Lunar when I thought of
Musk?
Elon Musk. So
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hey, listen, don't be hating too much on the guy.
You generally think of lunacy when you think of Elon Musk. So.
His lunacy, I
where
like
were
that.
you
Lunacy.
10 minutes ago when I was thinking of these damn games, man?
He is going to have to go up there and save that Boeing crew.
Oh,
That
well.
Boeing space, what's that?
Well, somebody's going to have to, but they got grounded. SpaceX.
August 18th, yeah.
got grounded.
That was your
because-
birthday.
yeah,
They were supposed to go up on your birthday, I think.
Oh, well.
And they got grounded.
Yeah.
I mean, at this
Yeah,
point,
SpaceX.
I don't think Boeing is not having a good year.
Yeah,
gonna say,
everybody's
man.
having trouble right now. But
They should have known better if it was Boeing. That's
Right.
all I'm
Oh,
saying.
the doors are going to fall off.
You're stuck up there now, man. Sorry.
Yeah, if it's
Eight.
Boeing,
What was
I
supposed to
ain't
be
going.
an 8-day. I'm
Wow,
learning more about
yeah,
this today.
It's like,
It was supposed to be an 8-day flight. Could turn into 8 months in space for these two folks.
yeah, it's got to be at least a couple months.
They were supposed
now.
to just fly up there, drop some stuff off,
Yep.
and then fly on back in that. What do they call it? Starliner.
Yeah, Starliner.
Boeing Starliner, which was the competitor to SpaceX.
Yep.
But then they had some helium leaks and whatnot, and all this made me want to do is play Terraforming Mars. Like that's all I wanted to do. Reading this article, like I just want to play Terraforming
If
Mars.
you're reading this article, you have to go watch For All Mankind because that
There you
is
go.
a great time.
And then that would make.
And
me
that's not
play,
even one of my 5. That one just happened today.
That's just a bonus one.
That was a bonus one.
Yeah,
That just
bonus.
happened today. Like I want to play Colonies now with the Colonies expansion and move my shuttle back and forth. You know, like these guys were supposed to.
Look what Chad said in the chat.
Uh-oh. We don't have the chat. There it
Boeing
comes.
makes me think of Robinson Crusoe.
Crusoe stranded on a desert island. Nice. That's a good pull, Chad.
Oh man,
I like
that is
that.
classic.
That's good.
Classic. All right.
If it's as hard as Caruso is from Portal Games,
oh man, they're screwed.
then that crew is screwed.
Yeah, super screwed.
They're gonna lose
Or
that
as they
game.
Not
say in
making it.
Miami, "Chu are screwed." All right, so
Number
so
4.
We're on number 4. So when I thought of number 2 and number 3, so Lunar, you've got what was mine? Oh, Parks.
Parks.
And when I thought of those two, it made me think of course, Space Park, because Lunar, the moon is up in space, and I just talked about Parks. Now, this is a killer worker placement game. Pop will agree with me on this one because he has mentioned this a couple of times.
Mhm.
This is a very quick 20-minute filler. When you have it down, you can play it in 20 minutes. But you're moving these rocket ships around a modular board that you kind of make at random, like these 6 cards kind of come out. And you are managing resources and you're playing cards, and it's the first to 20 or more points is the winner. But this is a great filler that you can easily get set up, played, and put back away within 30 minutes.
Also, the
So-
same designer as Parks.
There you go. Right?
Oh, is it? Wow.
Wow.
So a lot of connections there.
Good pull. Good pull.
Where were you 10 minutes ago, man?
You need to have a little pre-show prep with Wayne. Yeah.
All right. Well, I won't go into that. So anyway, my number 4, Space Park.
Yeah, I've
course.
actually never played Space Park. I gotta play that one.
I haven't either.
Oh,
No, you have. Mike
I
taught us
have.
at
Oh, he
Escape
did.
WinterCon.
He did. I
That
did
was
play
so
once.
memorable.
Sorry,
He doesn't remember anything, guys.
It's
I'm sorry.
memorable. It was
Rob,
memorable.
Rob has no memory.
No, yeah, it was memorable.
So my next one is, given the current time of year it is right now, that happens every 4 years or so. Makes me think of playing political games. Campaign Trail, 1960, Making a President, Twilight Struggle. Any of those kind of, or a lot of the GMT games. Just sort of, just given the politics you see the debates, you see those kind of things. It just makes me think about playing those games. So this last week I busted out Campaign Trail and been going through it solo a few times, and trying to make sure I know the game well, to maybe play it with others. So yeah, this time of year, during election season, you want to think of games that have politics in nature.
I have read the rules to Campaign Manager and Founding Fathers in this last 2 weeks because of that same idea that that Wayne is talking about. All the politics in the news, all the conversations about electoral college got me thinking about founding fathers. I read the rule books to that. So Wayne, the juices are flowing. That whole political
Got the itch.
yes,
Yeah.
very much, and it's because it's in the news. It's all over the news right now.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4. Are we on 4?
Number 1, my friend.
Number 1. Oh, we're at the top. Number 5. So my number, I guess, but in reverse order. But for me, this one is last on my list only because I haven't done it yet, other than read the rules and buy stuff. But having watched Fallout, the series, 3 times now, three, and I've seen episode 1 4 times because I wanted to introduce it to my son in hopes that he would want to watch the whole series with me so I could watch it a 4th time. But watching Fallout, the TV show, has got me stuck on the Fallout board game. It's just to the stage left of Rob is my copy of Fallout. The rule book is sitting there because I'm still reading through it, including the expansion that I bought, the Atomic Bonds, BONDS.
You have to have it.
Because it's cooperative. It changes it to a cooperative game where we all work together.
I
This
think
is
I
on
heard
my
that
wish
makes
list.
the game a lot better also.
Yeah, I was played a game with somebody just a couple days ago, and they were telling me that do not waste time playing this without that expansion. That it's unplayable without it. So
And it has to do with the point system.
yeah,
It's really top decking. You can get a mission like Ticket to Ride where you already fulfilled everything you need for that mission. So if you're playing competitively, that mission might give you 3 or 4 points. Right? In a game that takes you to 10 points, that's huge in a 10-point game. So it's almost like what's the Star Wars one? Outer Rim.
Oh.
Right, where you've got missions and you got 10 fame to get to. It's very similar to that, except for the missions are so varied and they vary in difficulty. So in points that you gain and in difficulty, somebody could just run away with the game off of a couple of good missions that they already met by accident.
yeah, that's what I've heard.
So playing cooperatively takes away that whole idea. You have to work together to get everyone to a certain point level together. And you're sharing gear, you're sharing equipment,
Now, there
you're,
you go.
you're exploring, helping each other out, fighting monsters together
Co-op.
to get everyone to where they need to be to win the game. Woo. That's how they got, instead of fixing the game and the mission cards, they just said, all right, well, how about you all just work together?
Yeah.
That works. I like
makes sense.
co-op. Yeah,
So Fallout,
looking forward.
my
to
number
it.
1
Looking forward to it.
or 5, depending on what order we were doing this
One
in.
man's 1 is another man's 5.
All right. So all this talk about parks, it made me think back to my childhood and restaurants. And I remember going to Denny's all the time, and made me think about the food at Denny's. One of my favorite things. You would think it was moons over my hammy, but it wasn't. It was their chicken strips.
Funchaid Magnet.
Yep. Their chicken strips because they didn't have any bones. I hated bones in my chicken. But then I was
God.
thinking,
There's too
wouldn't it
many?
be great to made me think of Perkins when we went
many
at
bones?
Escape WinterCon, right? And you brought
So clever.
Ganchan Clever.
Oh, there you go.
You brought Ganchan Clever with you, and I was thinking, oh man, that's a great game because it's so small. It's a great small game. And then I started thinking, wouldn't it be great if we could just shrink down every game, and then we could bring them with us anywhere that we want to go, right? So of course. That made me think of The Witcher Old World because it's one of the last games that I still have in Shrink. If I could just shrink these games.
it. I gotcha.
This is one that I definitely want to play again, if at all. I hadn't even played it yet, but I am looking forward to getting this one out of the Shrink to get it to the table
So we
and
can
play.
He wants to get out of Shrink so we can play it again.
Yes.
It's not too many bones.
I can't even track with you, like
Where he's going.
where your mind goes.
I like what he did here. He put a lot more thought into it than I did.
Well, when you start at 0,
Yeah, exactly. I didn't
Zero
think taking
plus
it,
0 is still
I didn't
zero.
think taking it in the funny direction. Mike did a whole thing there. So yeah.
Rob went about as far as every game day starts, where you stand in front of your game shelf
Yeah,
and
just
just
sit
kind
there
of
and
look at stuff.
stare at blindly like
That's what I was doing about
Yeah.
30 minutes before the show. I was like, all right, come on, Mike. You got to think of something. What can we associate here
I
with
did that
things that you
yesterday.
do every
I
day?
was sitting there looking. I was like, what one of these
Yeah.
games? Yeah.
So my number 1 is board gaming is a hobby, right? So you think about what are your other hobbies and how does that some of those relate to board games. So I've been a home brewer, brewed beer. My wife and I have traveled wine countries, those kind of things. I like to drink whiskey, So, you know,
Oh,
and
I know
then
where this is going.
you get distilled, brew crafters, viticulture, right? But also, you know, you think about like my wife also collects comic books. So, like when I heard about the Comic Hunters book game, I immediately had to get that game because I knew that the theme of the board game fit a hobby of hers, right? And I played, you know, all these D&D books behind us here. So, you know, Lords of Waterdeep. So it's always like when you think of like things that you have hobbies in that are adjacent to board games or not even board game related, board games that are about those hobbies or bring those hobbies in makes them want to play. So I like, you know, I love Brew Crafters because it's a game about brewing beer and, you know, it fits the theme well. So makes me remember the hobby I used to do before I had a child, which
Nice.
BC, before children.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, other hobbies and how they make you think of the board games that are related to them. Yeah.
Very nice.
Cool.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I threw that one because it was something it was on my heart. It was a topic that I had on my mind, and I wasn't sure where it would lead or how it would go. But everyone here, except for Robert, showed up and really put in some effort to connect the dots. Hopefully, the folks at home will have an opportunity to join us on this little journey where we think about how our hobbies tie into our gaming hobby, how our life ties into our gaming hobby, and things that bring them together. Open up the phone lines. 813-618-7099 is the phone number. Looks like somebody already tried to dial in.
Ooh, missed one already?
And I was too busy trying to track where the hell Mike was going.
with his picks.
That was good, man. That was good.
Phone lines are now open. 813-618-7099. Let's see. I got I think a voicemail in here.
Oh, somebody left a message
Somebody left a
mid-show.
It's supposed to be a voicemail week, right?
Let's just hit play.
Oh God.
Hey, gentlemen, this is Ron from Atlanta. Just want to talk briefly about my Gen Con. It was a great time. I didn't play much beyond Super Show, although I played this cute little game called Donuts that was kind of I guess a tic-tac-toe thing, except you were going for 5 in a row, and you're flipping, you know, chocolate donuts versus sprinkled donuts and everything like that. It was neat. It was light, but still a good time. I met Ruel Gaviola, had a nice little chat with him about, you know, the gaming space and what the convention space looks like and all that stuff. It was nice meeting him, but I didn't really see any other like board game influencers. There are a couple of RPG YouTubers you guys really would know about. But I just had a great time. Spent a lot of time demoing and playing Super Show and wandering the vendor hall. There was a lot of great stuff, but I didn't feel compelled to grab anything, you know, any kind of exclusive, except for maybe the Dragon Shield sleeves. And I want to get my hands on the American copy of Comic Hunters. Spin Master was there, but I got there too late. Like I got to the line where there was more people in line that they had games available. But then someone told me, "Hey, they're selling this online." So I bought it online, and I am going to be getting that later this week. I'm super excited about that game. So that was actually my game of the convention, a game that I played a year ago at Dice Tower East, and I'm glad that Wayne got himself a copy so I get a chance to play that. So that's all I have to share. Hope you guys have a great night.
That was nice, Ron. Thank you for making it a call-in show.
Yeah, I must have had something to run off to, but
Important to note, his Gen Con experience didn't play much except for Super Show.
Super Show.
that was his main focus.
Yeah, he's big into that.
We can thank Ron for that great segue of another topic we can discuss is what went on at Gen Con this past week.
For sure.
Yeah, a lot of content out there. I don't know who y'all have been watching, monitoring, or reading as you catch up on the Gen Con activities. But did anything strike your fancy? Anything make you think about, up ordering or purchasing? What'd y'all see in all this Gen Con coverage this past week?
I think the first thing I saw was that it broke the attendance record again. So last year,
what was the number?
71,000 unique
71?
attendees.
Wow. I think it was 70 last year, right?
Yeah, 70. Yeah. And then next highest one was like 68, which was 2019, and then obviously the COVID years. But 71,000, and I like Gen Con and like Dragon Con when they do unique attendance, right? I wish that all cons would have like a standard way, because turnstile. Some of them do by day. So yeah, I like we know that there were 71,000 people there, whether they were there one day or 4 or whatever. It's just unique people. So I like, that's cool. I think that means like the dealer hall, I heard like the first day, like, so there's the load-in day where they're all loading everything in and the air conditioning is like turned off because all the doors are open. And apparently that was brutal because there's like 100 degrees. But then like the next day when the dealer hall opened, like the air conditioning hadn't even caught back up yet. So like I heard that first day, was it, I guess, Thursday or whatever.
Thursday,
It was pretty hot in there all day long. Like, and people were just talking about just sitting there sweating. And
Tom said he thought there were more people there on Thursday than there were on the weekend. He said that Thursday everybody running to get all those games.
Yeah. It was like, people were just like, I was listening to Lance Meister on the Viking last night talking about just like, he's like, I'm just sitting there sweating like the whole time. It's like that's gotta be gross, But then they said, eventually did catch up. So I mean, that's interesting. It's like it's been 12 years since I went to Gen Con, so it's definitely a lot bigger than last time I went. But I wouldn't even go there on Thursday, the first day. Like every one of those games you're going to be able to get, right? Maybe there might be some exclusives or stuff like that, but I just don't. I'm at the point now where I'm not running and dealing with that. I'll go on Friday afternoon when it's slower or something like that. So
we're too old for that crap.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Send some of the young kids out to do that stuff.
Yeah, right. Have mules to do it for you, man.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's the first. Yeah, that was my first observation.
Tennis thing is a little interesting. I haven't seen too much on it. I watched a little bit on the Dash Tower today. They were talking about Tom and Chris. You were talking about it in the news segment, and it was kind of interesting. Tom said that he heard that both there and Essen they have a actual strategy of every year they bump the attendance up slightly, the number of tickets that they sell, so that on purpose, so that every year they can advertise it's a new record. It's a new record. It's a new record.
It ain't so.
Yeah, so he said that's an actual strategy that they're using, so they bump it up by a couple hundred people just so it's a new record every year. So yeah, it was
interesting.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the one game that only solidified the fact that I wanted the game to begin with, but then when I started actually seeing components and the new mechanisms is Undaunted 2022 Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
And that game, they've got like it's multiple levels now, and it's funny thing is, it made me think of I'm trying to remember the name of that video game, but it was like I want to say it was like Red Dawn, or I know that was a movie, don't get me wrong, but it was like a video game where you were like mining on Mars, kind of similar to the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie Total Recall. But it was like almost like you've got the worker faction against, the oppressors that are, running everything there. So, but I thought it was cool.
It's like what I read, because you were posting a lot of cool stuff about it. That's what I was following more of your lead.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure where they were going to go with this retheme into space.
Right.
But I like what they did with it, where they do this corporate world versus like the workers, which kind of reminds me of like Expanse, kind of a theme, where it's it's the politicians, the leadership versus like the mining class, the Mars, the Belters, I think is what they called it in the fiction. That idea of the corporation with their big mechs and their big weapons versus the little guys, and even one of the units for the little guys was called the nail gunner. So like, he's just some guy with a nail gun, going in.
Nail gunner.
I liked it. That Callisto, that's got me interested.
Yeah, definitely one that I am going to pick up. I'm only curious for. I'm only interested in Undaunted for the 2-player aspect of it, the 1v1, but this plays 2v2 also. So I didn't look too deep into like how that plays out, but I think I would be interested in that. But it's really the 1v1 that I appreciate the most in that game.
Yeah, I imagine that's where it would sing. I mean, the old Undaunteds, but I don't know. You probably could find a way to play them 2v2, but.
The old Undaunted?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called the expansion. It comes with the 2v2 rules.
2v2? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
I haven't played that.
I never would have thought of it. Yeah, I mean, it's really a 1 versus 1, right? I mean, yeah.
Well, the 2v2 rules, it really, my understanding was a good rule set.
Really?
Almost like the Vikings 878. That number I always get wrong. That 878 Vikings being a 2-player game where you're each sharing sides but not sharing units.
Okay. Yeah.
We must have struck a chord. Beats and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where you calling from?
This is Ron from Atlanta calling in again.
My man, keeping it a college
Couldn't stay
show.
away. Couldn't stay away.
Did we push a button? Did we strike a chord?
Poke.
Apparently, yeah, because I'm like, I really enjoyed my time at Gen Con. Don't get me wrong. I played some little light games, demoed some games and everything like that. As I mentioned on the voicemail, I spent most of my time in the Super Show area just kind of demoing games for new folks because there was a whole bunch because it's Gen Con, and playing and just hanging out with those people, that community, right? Like, when I went to Gen Con in past years, I primarily hung out with RPG folks, right? Like, there was always some sort of community I connected with. And it just happened to be Super Show this time. But, like, it just isn't worth it. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys are, like, super collectives when it comes to board game exclusives and whatnot, but, like, that stuff's not worth the chase, the rush.
Well, I think
as you were talking about. I mean,
I'm sorry, Ryan. I was gonna say, I think you hit the nail on the head in your comments, and even now is like I think the dealer hall is super hyped now, right? Everyone wants to get to the dealer hall. Everyone wants to run. We saw Lorcana last year, right? Everyone just wants to get in there and buy the new hotness and that. But then like they have the game library. I think the BGG game library, right? It was there or whatever, and it's at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Yeah.
And a couple of shows I watched, they said that the stadium where the actual gameplay area was is like the whole field of Lucas Oil Stadium, and it was like fairly empty. That there was as many people in there eating food from the food truck area as there were playing games. I'm like, I would have fun at Gen Con then if I get to play games on the 50-yard line of the Lucas Oil Stadium. And I mean, for me, Gen Con was always, there was the auction room where there's like people are auctioning off old stuff, which is kind of cool. And then there's like the RPG sessions and the game sessions. The dealer hall was always kind of an afterthought, but it seems like that's become like a focus of Gen Con is this dealer hall. And I don't know if that's worth it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's the deal. It's for many people, it's the dealer hall exclusive to bust. Like, okay, so Wandering Galaxy was on Kickstarter, right? And so Fat Hat had their booth, and they were demoing Wandering Galaxy, and I thought that was great. I didn't get a chance to demo that, but I would have loved to have demoed that, while the Kickstarter was live.
Yeah,
So
you didn't
there
need
is-
a Gen Con
there is
article to tell you how much you wanted that game.
Right. Yeah. I didn't. But I don't need to spend as much money as the average Gen Con goer is going to spend to go there, just so I can make a decision on an $80 game.
Right. And Gen Con's always going to have a handful of announcements and premieres and whatnot. But I mean, again, you don't need to be there for that. It's actually probably better, again, like some sports, watching that from your couch at home. I mean, you're going to get those highlights and
it didn't seem like there were a couple of like big new announcements, but there wasn't really anything like usually FFG or like some of them like here's a game that no one heard was coming out and here it is. Like you didn't even get that this year. I mean, almost every game that we saw or heard of at Gen Con, you knew about ahead of time. There was no great big reveals that I can think of.
Oh. Okay, and I have a question for you gentlemen to discuss. How much of an impact did the COVID-19 pandemic and having to change the way things were done for the Gen Con impact the way that board game publishers market their games now? Because in my opinion, I think the reliance on the con exclusive, the con launch, and all this kind of stuff, COVID helped decouple that process. But what do you guys think?
I kind of agree with that. I think, before COVID, games would release there, and you had no chance of getting it ahead of time, right? And now, even during COVID, they started releasing games all throughout the year, and then they'll have like a big release at Gen Con. Look at this year, Comic Hunters, right? Comic Hunters was the big Spin Master release, and all I saw was all the people in a crazy line at Gen Con rushing to get Comic Hunters, and then everyone else just going to the local Barnes and Noble and buying
Barnes and Noble, right?
Yeah.
right? and getting it before Gen Con was even open, right?
Yeah, in my anecdote on the voicemail, that was the thing that was like the kick in the head. Because I'm like, okay, all right, I'm gonna get Comic Hunters, and then like it's online, I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, there's more people in line than we have copies left. And then somebody else said, hey, you can get it at Barnes and Noble. So I went looking, and I bought it from a different site, but I'm like, what's the point of me even trying to get in this line?
Yeah. And the other thing is that, Gen Con, you're buying MSRP at Gen Con. There's no deals. Now, granted, I'm not always, if there's a game I want, I'm going to pay whatever I got to pay to get the game if I really want it that bad.
Be the first one to get it, yeah.
Right, and I think Gen Con plays into that. I was the first one to get it before anybody else, or at least it used to be that way. And now, like you said, with the Comic Hunters, and maybe that's the rarity now, and it may become the norm later on. But when I think of Gen Con, and granted, I haven't been board gaming as long as a lot of other people, but anytime I ever thought of Gen Con, I always thought that's where you go to buy the games before they're released. You'll get 2 to 4 weeks ahead of anybody else, and you're lucky if you get a copy, because it's always like, we can only air freight this many in, or we can only bring this many copies with us. And like you said, people are running crazy to the booths to get their copy or whatever. And maybe that's maybe financially it's not to the publisher's benefits, because they can sell it full MSRP, and they're not going through a middleman. It's all them where they're getting that money. They're not like distributing it out to for better or worse, like mom and pop stores or Amazon, or so and it builds hype also for the games.
Well, here's my thought, though, is that I think more than COVID or whatever else we might look at, something that's infected that a lot, I think, in my mind, is just the level of competition.
I see what you did there.
Oh, yeah, well, the level of competition. What's that?
What infected the minds?
Infected the minds. No. All right. The level of competition right now. I mean, there's so many games coming out. It used to be game manufacturers, producers, designers could hold their games and wait for one of these couple of big cons a year to release them. But I think right now, with the amount of stuff that's coming out, if you hold your game for a couple of months for a con, you might get forgotten. I mean, you might get lost in the shuffle. You might there's all these things. I think there's such a rush now to get this game out, hit while you can catch the market that you can, and then in 5 months I've got to have another game out there that's going to be another big title to because people are going to be moving on. People are going to play this game 3, 4, 5 months. Games come and go so quickly. There's so many games out there. I think that has a lot to do with it too. That you can't hold titles and wait for big cons, wait for big announcements. I think people are just trying to put out as much as they can, as quick as they can, and just kind of keep this churn going. That I don't think is sustainable. I think it's crazy right now. And we, as I won't call us game reviewers, we don't review as much as we just talk about the industry and stuff. But whatever we are, I mean, just people who talk about
a couple of schmucks
stuff.
out of Tampa,
A couple of schmucks
talking about board
talk
games.
about stuff. I mean, we can't there's no way we can keep up with it. We do this just as a part-time, couple hours a week thing. I mean, you got full-time people who can't keep up with the industry. I mean, it's just too much right now.
Even if you just look at like Tom on Dice Tower does those boring unboxings, right, where they unbox all the games they get, and then just like I've watched those, and then
how many of those are reviewed?
Yeah.
Oh God! Like over the next 6 months, I'm like, they never reviewed any of them. So
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, Rob. So, and I think that I've shared before, but that contributes to my burnout on the the hobby. I just,
Fatigue was the word I was
stopping.
thinking of. You said burnout, but I'm thinking fatigue.
It's burnout. I mean,
I'm
it's both,
tired,
really.
boss. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in a fortunate position where like we're getting the band back together as far as like my regular board game group. So I'm pretty excited about that. But like none of us are excited about the next big thing. It's just kind of like we're keeping our eyes open. If we happen to cross something, happens to cross our path, we'll dig into it a little bit. But
Right.
we're way past the point where anybody can keep up with it.
Agree.
As Wayne pointed out, if even the Dice Tower and their staff are passing on many games that they're getting, just imagine how you and I, how you and I feel.
It's
Don't
impossible.
stand a chance. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you got to play the old games.
Wayne's
Yep.
plug for
Old classics,
the old and
man.
beige.
That's the thing is, I think games
Exactly.
that come out this year, if people are still playing it and interested in it a year or two from now, one, you'll get it dirt cheap because that's just a game churn. I mean, I picked up a ton of older games at the Dice Tower Flea Market this year for like that a year ago or 2 years ago retailed for $60 or $70, and I bought it for $20. Right. So,
Right.
Yeah. I said my wife and I
I
are
was
still
just
talking.
reminded.
Go ahead, Ron. Sorry.
I was just reminded of just how much fun I have playing Western Legends in Zaya solo. So I have a pretty open Saturday. One of those games is getting on my table.
Yeah.
Or it's getting on a table, whether it's my table or a table at a game store is to be determined. But
I was just talking about Zion a couple days ago that I want to get that back to the table. I played Return to Dark Tower with Brian Zeno a couple nights ago, and I mentioned, mentioned
I
Zion.
told you. Yeah. So I've only played that at Atlanta Game Fest because of the one guy that owns everything for it that sets it up to play the entire weekend.
Nice.
But so as you see, plenty of games that already exist that we have or have access to that are just fine. So
Good.
we'll see how the board game industry evolves.
Good thoughts. Very unexpected thoughts coming from you at a Gen Con. Like when we talked about report back.
That was all be happy roses and
Right.
great
This is not
times.
quite the report I had expected, but it's in line with what others are feeling, especially if you follow our comments. And I'll touch on some of those in a moment. But good call out, Ron. Very good call out. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. I'll hang up and listen.
Weekend of October 11th, I think it is the Road Atlanta Petit Le Mans. So I'm going to be up in just north of Atlanta.
Ron's neck of the woods.
In Ron's neck of the woods, driving up there and back down. Let's try to coordinate maybe a lunch or something on either on the way down or something that Sunday. So I'll get with you.
I would love to see you, but
Uh-oh.
yeah,
Oh, he's got a super show.
I ain't gonna hold my breath.
All right, brother. Good chatting with you.
All right, man.
See ya.
You guys take care.
Yeah.
So it's interesting as I actually had a conversation with my wife just the other day, like while Gen Con was going on, because we used to go to Gen Con every year, and then obviously children kind of put the kibosh on that. So it's been 12 years, right? So since we've been to Gen Con, but she's like, I really want to go back to Gen Con. And then I thought about it and I realized, I think like we would actually still very much enjoy Gen Con because our Gen Con experience was not about the dealer room, right? We would, like I said, we went to the auction room, and then we would go to True Dungeon, which is that live action, like giant football field size, like actual dungeon that you go and play D&D in. And then we'd go play role playing games, and we'd go to the dealer hall as an afterthought. But part of like that Gen Con dealer hall experiences. And then I know that like my Dan went to Essen last year. I no longer have Essen on my wish list. Like I do not want to go to Essen because all Essen is is a dealer hall. And it's just
Yeah.
that you're buying games.
I thought Gen Con was like the dealer one. What's the show that's more of the release announcement show?
Gamma?
I thought that was Essen.
Essen,
Or Origins.
Essen,
Well, Essen's got a lot.
Essen's got a lot of releases. I think Essen and Gen Con fight for who releases the most games, but
Right.
Essen definitely, because Essen's
Okay.
but all it is just like it doesn't have all those I think Gen Con has a lot of those ancillary things. They have cosplay and they have other things you can do other than the dealer hall, other than the releases and stuff like that. So you can get into things outside of that. So I think I would still enjoy Gen Con very much, because there's I do different things there. It's not a shopping excursion for me, because I just buy the games anyway. So
I am definitely very serious about going next year. Like
I wanna go sometime
It's very high on my list.
Yeah.
Well, we had tickets, we had room, we had cars
did.
planned.
Yeah.
Mike and I were going to road trip up there. We were ready to go. And then COVID.
COVID
And
happened.
then COVID.
And then
Yeah,
COVID.
had tickets
ruined
and
all that.
everything, man.
We were set to go. Chad brought up a great point that connected with what Rob talked about for me. So Chad Stilson in the chat talks about remembering the point of pride that you had when you used to wait in the ticket line for the Star Wars movie. It's the same with games, I guess. LOL. Right? Think about those days when we used to camp for tickets. The days at Electronic Boutique, where we would sit outside waiting for a video game to release.
midnight releases and
Right, we'd all be in line, like talking trash, waiting for that moment.
Yeah.
We'd be at the game store waiting for a release of MechWarrior, the Clicks game, right? Like the new box set coming out.
That was a long time ago.
Chad,
Like
this will show my age. I remember waiting in line for Star Wars Episode 4 back when it was just called Star Wars at 163rd Street Mall. They had the Firestone in the back. The line was down and around the corner. We waited in line 4 hours and they sold out before we got to the window. I was a little kid then. That's one of like the fondest memories of my life. I waited in line, for the first Star Wars movie and didn't get to go in and see it.
Wow.
But yeah, man, camping out for concerts, and I mean, it has its moments.
The internet changed all that. Like at the end of the day, the internet, the connectivity of that changed all that.
It's not all.
And I remember feeling that when I was
all roses, man.
when I was a DJ. Like I remember the moment I realized I needed to get out of DJing. I was DJing. That's how I made my side hustle. I grew up DJing at the roller rink. I did weddings, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, whatever. I did it all. When I realized that folks were coming up to me asking me for stuff that I had never heard of when the internet started hitting big. Before that, when I started DJing, there was no internet. Like we decided what was good. We decided as the DJs, as the radio stations decided what went over the airways. And then like SoundCloud like bust out, right? They decide what's cool. The kids can go find what music they want to listen to, right? Before we in the industry ever even heard of these people.
Options and convenience.
And the moment I realized half the songs they're asking for, I've never heard of these people, that's when I realized, all right, this technology has gotten well beyond me, and I'm not going to go chasing down what the new hotness is on the onlines just to be able to keep up with the people. And that's how I feel about gaming now. So like gaming is gotten so many games coming out every day. I cannot chase and keep up with the hotness.
No way. Oh man,
Yeah, too much.
Well, and I think, and I'm going to toot your horn. This horn is like we never focused on that. We don't focus on necessarily on what's new hotness, and like a lot of other content creators or other shows. They like even the Dice Tower. Their whole thing is like the hot game, the culture of the new, and you have that's just a constant battle to keep up with it. And even Tom talked about that in his podcast today. He talked about like I'm on the cult of the new, but sometimes you got to look back and think, play some of these older games because they're that good. And I think also there's some like spinning back to the whole concerts and other thing is like stuff too, but also I don't miss it. Right. I remember, this is only, it was like 20, 25 years ago now, but the Lord of the Rings when it came out and like we all went to breakfast beforehand and then we would go to that first showing because they didn't have midnight showings back then. It was like the first showing was like 11 a.m. Right. So everyone, and then like everyone's in line and the doors open and everyone's rushing into the theater to fight for the best seats.
Right. Gandalf's casting spells in line. And,
I do not miss that. I do love that I can go on my phone, AMC Veterans. I want that seat, and that seat, and I can show up 2 minutes before the movie starts. And I don't have to show up an hour ahead of time to get the right seats because
That's
I don't know
right,
about you,
yeah.
but I don't want to sit all the way up front, or I want like my perfect seat, so I could just buy it and done. I don't miss having to be to a movie theater 45 minutes to an hour before the actual show, so I can get good seats. You know,
Our kids will never have those memories.
Dang kids.
Our kids will never remember the moment of what it felt like to actually have to hunt down the video game on release night.
I have a jacket across 10 seats, and I'm saving this for my 10 friends. No, you're not saving it for your 10 friends.
When Halo 2 comes out and we're at Electronic Boutique,
Yeah, I camped overnight for PlayStation 2.
right, like waiting for the release, and then you get home because it comes out at midnight, right?
Yeah.
At 12:01 is when they open the doors. You get home and it's almost 2 a.m, and you're jumping online to get that online game, or the network cable gaming, I should say.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, we had the
LAN parties.
Yes.
man.
The LAN parties. Yeah.
when, oh man, I'm aging
we are
myself
going
here.
way-
Look, if y'all want to talk about board games, you call in and talk about board games. We just gonna talk here.
I was gonna say, I tell my kids all the time, like the four of us, we are the last generation to ever grow up without the internet.
Yeah.
We are the only ones that will ever know, or the last generation that will ever know what it's like. I mean, and the benefits that we get from this country and all that, blah blah blah. But yes, we are the last generation that grew up without the internet.
My son, my oldest, my 21-year-old, College of Engineering over at USF. By the way, all A's so far,
All
bro.
right, there we go. All right.
He's got his mama's brains, thank God.
Yeah.
He watched War Games today. Matthew Broderick.
When they used
Love
to
that
do the
movie.
dial-up.
You know what? That's what he said to me. He goes, "Bobby, the weirdest thing was he just called in and dialed into their network," and I'm like,
Where do you think
"That's kind of how the
from?
internet worked."
Kind of. Yeah.
Like we couldn't call people on the phone when the internet was on. Like we had to pick one: either talk to people on the phone or use the internet. It was one or the other.
One or the other.
Yep.
Yeah. Rotary
Yep,
phones.
so,
and-
But
Actually,
those
our
memories
parents
that
that
we
were
have,
like-
will our kids have those memories?
They'll have other memories.
they have,
Yeah,
they
they'll
have
have
things
Things that
their own.
replaced all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, our parents said we had to
Exactly,
do our
yeah.
math on
It's just
paper.
now you're
We
gonna be an
didn't
old
have a
guy, yeah.
calculator.
Yeah,
Get
we'll
those kids off my lawn.
They have different
Those
memories.
LAN parties we had were amazing, man. I was a manager at the roller rink at the time, and what we did after Saturday night session, because the boss lived in Vero, so he wanted to go home for the weekend. He'd be gone. We'd set up in the center of the roller rink 4 TVs, each TV with 4 controllers of Xbox. So 16-player game of Halo in the middle of the roller rink, all connected by LAN. Like that's all we had. Those are some of the best memories, man. Those are some of the amazing times.
All right. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I remember when my kid got his Switch and we got the Nintendo, like the emulators, and he was playing Mario Brothers, and he's like, after like 10 minutes, he's like, "This game's too hard." He threw it down, right? And then I started playing it. And I realized, oh, this game is pretty hard. Like, and then I realized though, in the Switch though, if you hold the 2 buttons, you can like rewind.
Oh,
So,
what?
like, yeah. So like when you die in Zelda, or when you die in Mario Brothers, you can just rewind it right before you died and keep going. So like it's just a different mindset of these games. Like
This is why they're all soft.
we-
This
we
is why
couldn't
all these
save-
kids are
we couldn't
soft.
Save a game. We had if you had to go like, hey, you gotta go to practice, or we gotta go shopping, and I pause and just leave it on pause for the 3 hours you're gone, and you come back so you can pick up the game. Like
Yeah,
it's
it
just
was
different.
like that because they originated in the arcade. They had to make their money somehow. They had to
Somehow,
keep you
yeah.
putting quarters in the machine, so they had to make it harder.
But I think Rob's right though. They'll have their own, like 30 years from now
Of
when
course
they have
they will.
kids,
And
they'll
their
be,
kids are
they'll be
gonna
us
same
doing the
thing.
same shit we're doing now. They're doing
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
It'll all be Fortnite and Minecraft. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They'll
it'll be
have
like
things.
Although, I tell you what, these kids are, I don't know, at least my kids are, my kid and the kids in our neighborhood, they're really good about unplugging themselves, because they'll go play video games for a little while, and then like this whole summer, come 4 o'clock, they put it down electronics and they go fishing. And
good for
you know,
them.
they'll go out and fish for a couple hours and come back, and then they'll play basketball. So they're not
Touch
as
the grass, man. You got to touch
Yeah.
the grass every once in a while.
I don't know. At least, granted, I don't know. I can't speak for everybody's kids or everybody, but all the kids, all the boys in my neighborhood, which is, it seems like it's all boys. It's like one girl in the whole neighborhood. They unplug. They don't sit there zoned out to their pads all day, every day. They'll go out and fish or play basketball and stuff.
Not
So-
mine. Not mine.
No.
No, my kids will not go outside. I can't force them to. Yep.
Yeah, I got my other one is at another outdoor camp getting rained on this whole week. Thanks, the tropical storm / Hurricane Debbie.
Nice.
But they had a blast. More news topics out of Gen Con's got me thinking. Dune expansion. Dune expansion.
Another one.
Another one.
Oh, here it comes.
Thank
comes the
you,
call.
whoever's calling in.
Bailing us out.
You don't want to talk about Dune expansion, Mike?
No.
Beans and Dice podcast.
Thought
State
that
your
when I was
name.
a
Where are you
kid.
calling from?
Hi, it's Rob.
Hello, Rob.
How are you?
We are well.
Doing good.
Do you guys ever talk about rare board games?
All the time.
Boy, there it comes.
I was cleaning out my father's estate. He was in the plumbing industry for 45 years, and he actually had a board game that was developed just internally within the plumbing industry. I don't know if any of you have heard of it.
Nope, not familiar with the theme. What's the game?
It was from the early 70s, and it was called Flush and Flow.
No, that sounds very rare.
Yeah, I don't know how many they made. The quality and craftsmanship isn't the best, but I mean, I know that they at least had several copies. The whole thing looks like it's about managing a plumbing business. The board's sort of designed like a city map, and there's different districts and areas you have to service. So I played it like a couple times. Each player kind of takes on the role of a plumber, and your goal is to really be the first one to complete jobs in all the different neighborhoods. But it's not really as straightforward as it sounds.
Was it ever
So, like,
published, or was it just a self-published thing, or like what do you know about it? What do you know?
I can't tell, but that's why I'm asking you if you've heard of it. So with each turn, you draw a job card, and that gives you a task like unclog Mrs. Jenkins' drain or replace the main valve at City Hall. And then it gets strange because you can also draw a flush card, which adds sort of a weird twist to the job, because there's all sorts of weird toilet and plumbing related stuff. Like there's a phantom flush, which makes you lose a turn, or you can quote unquote snake your way to victory, where you can sabotage like the other player's progress.
There's a lot of thought have gone into this
Yeah,
game.
sounds like it. Yeah.
I've worked in property claims the majority of my life, and all the things you described are things that
Actually happened.
I've paid plumbers to do
Yeah.
for property damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I only played it a handful of times. It seems to borrow concepts from other games, but it is kind of fun. Like once you get the hang of all like the plumbing terms, I guess some of the names are funny. There's one called the toilet tornado, where you got to swap your tools with another player. Then there's like you can give someone else a mud pie, and they have to clean it up. Anyway, I might go play it again.
Cool.
Just was curious if you guys heard of it.
How long ago was that?
How old is the game?
Yeah. How long ago was it when you played it, or how old is it? Yeah.
Oh, I only played it this week. It's the first I ever heard of it.
Okay.
But it looks like it's at least 50 years old because it's from the early 70s.
Huh. Okay. Cool.
Rob,
All
I
right.
am not familiar with this
No,
one.
I haven't ever heard of it. I wonder if it was just a passion project from some people who were in the industry who, like you say, borrowed some mechanics from other games and just kind of put something together. But sounds pretty interesting.
And you got our sympathies on the loss
Yeah.
of your dad. I know it's takes a lot out of someone to have to take care of the estate,
Yeah.
and deal with all that. So mad props to you for being there.
It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's a long time coming. There's also a card called the Royal Flush, where you have to unclog 3 toilets in one turn. And if you fail, you lose all your tools. Oh, yeah. Have a good night, fellas.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the
Thanks
call.
for calling. Royal Flush.
I looked in BGG. There's nothing in
Don't still see
BGG for
Flush
Royal
or Flow?
Flush.
No.
I'm back. What did I miss?
Oh, Royal
You take a nap
Flush
there?
and Flow. He had to go Royal Flush.
Yeah. Mike couldn't handle it.
Number
Done.
2 call of the night.
That had to be number 2.
We had a voicemail and 2 phone calls. It makes it a call-in show.
Number
Yeah,
2.
it does.
I'm
And
always
now
happy
that
to make
our-
it a call-in show.
Now that our subscribers has hit double digits instead
Yeah.
of triple digits. Can we talk about board games, please?
Yeah, bring it back
Dune
to board games?
Imperium Bloodlines.
There we
Bloodlines, is
go.
that the
Let's
name of
talk
it?
about Dune Imperium Bloodline.
And it's just
colon-
characters, right? This is just characters.
There's another board.
And a board, another board,
Yeah, another whole board.
and
Yeah.
Sardaukar.
And what?
And some new units. Yeah, there were some new units for the
Some
battles.
mercenary units?
Yeah, mercenary
No.
units, I think, or something.
Sardaukar.
The Sadakar?
Sidecar, is that what they are?
Yeah, that's the mercenary units that the
It's the
Emperor
Emperor's
used.
troops. You see them right here. Yeah.
Okay.
He loaned them out to the Baron. Yep, the Harkonnen
Harkonnen.
to use.
Okay. So yeah, there's some definitely some new things. There's some new cards, some new looks like maybe a new mechanism. I was trying to blow up that little sideboard there at home and kind of read what all was on there to see if it added any new mechanisms.
Anybody else still confused though? Like this is
This
an
works with
expansion
either
that
version,
plays
though.
right.
Yes, as it works
Plays
with either
both
one.
Games. Yeah.
Yeah, which isn't too surprising. I mean, the games are not that different. You
Yeah,
know,
there's only a couple of different rules.
right? So they're not. I could definitely see them working something in that would work with both of them.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I
so
appreciate
this,
that. To be honest with
this
you,
was-
like the fact that like if I've invested in the original game and the expansions.
Yeah.
Other people have invested in the new game and the expansions, and now all of it can play together.
Yeah, they're not just throwing the old game on the curb. They're
Yeah.
they're trying to support both. So yeah, I appreciate that also. But I was gonna say, so this is one of the big announcements that came out of Gen Con. I mean, it's cool, I guess. It's not blowing me away. I mean, it's another expansion for Dune, which I love. Don't get me wrong. One of my top 10 Hall of Fame game, right? Oh no, it's up there. It's number 1 right now on my list. So
It'll probably be a
a
Hall of Fame
potential
game
Hall
next
of
year.
Fame, yeah, at
Oh,
the end of the year,
jeez.
yeah. So I mean, it's all the way up there. So, but I mean. Another Dune expansion? Okay, sure. Yeah.
It's just I still feel confused with the delineation of Dune versus Dune Uprising, and now you got Bloodline to can play in both worlds. Maybe
Yeah.
and maybe I just need to accept it that this was a good idea. This is you got Dune set in 2 different parts of the movie, right? So
Yeah.
I guess 2 different in the fiction, right?
Right.
The early Dune and then kind of the later Dune where it's set on Arrakis itself, right? And the battles are different because now it's closer to the city. It's got the shield walls and it's got worms. So it's kind of like the next timeline in the events. But instead of making it a completely different game with completely different mechanisms, they kept it the exact same game, and you can just swap in all the different characters.
And I wouldn't be surprised when the next Dude movie comes out that they have another version or expansion to incorporate the next movie.
But do you think they can get more buyers if they make it a completely different game with completely different rules?
I don't know.
It'll be a big box where you can put both of them together in the same box.
One big box together.
It'll be an empty box. Dune 3,
All three
the
of them
box.
in one big box.
Giant box.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Going back to what Chad said earlier, other than the jokes that he's cracking about being old, he said something about how boring the FFG
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
flight
in-flight-
report. What
in-flight report,
I
yeah.
didn't see anything about that. What do you know, Danny? You guys
It didn't
know?
even make my news feed.
No, that's silly too. Like years ago, it was like the thing to watch, and it was
Yeah,
one
right.
whole thing. And then like the last couple of years, they've broken it out into like little mini ones.
Yeah.
And I didn't even see it this year. And I'm subscribed to their YouTube channel. Nothing.
Yeah, because they just had a thing like a month ago or 2 months ago where they announced they were retiring X-wing and they were Armada.
Armada's gone, X-Wing's gone.
So I mean that
They're not it's not like they're killing it for another version. They're done making stuff for it. So
Yeah.
the game is still going to be out there, and I think they said they'll still have stuff for like store tournaments, but it's just they're not putting out any more product.
anything new. Yeah.
The cycle is done.
So I mean, again, not waiting for a convention to make the big announcements. Now they're doing their in-flight reports. Like you said, they're breaking it up every 3-4 months. They're putting out another little mini in-flight report. So
I feel like it's Spirit Air now. Like it's just
oh yeah, it's a little mini flight. It's
You're
not one
there.
big flight. Yeah. So yeah.
I miss that company being big.
Yeah.
And then Peterson was out there demoing his game, right? So he started his own company, and he's out there demoing games in his own small company, like he never really started FFG. Like he was like the big CEO of FFG, the big runner of the, he was the big dog in the gaming industry for a while.
Yeah. You see that though. You
He
see
started all over.
You see Zev, Z-Man. Now he's got played his Z, and
Played a Z.
Bonacor was Stronghold. Now he's played a Z also. I mean, people bounce around. I just feel like there's. It used to be there were so many things getting released and talked about at Gen Con that things got lost. So it's almost like so many companies pulled back and said, let's not release too much or have anything crazy new come out. That the point that now there's not enough coming, like new stuff. Like
Well, like Awakened Realms started doing their own thing too. Like they don't do. It doesn't seem like they're doing Gen Con stuff. They're doing their own announcements, like, 2 or 3 times a year. It seems like they're doing. I think January was the first one this year, and then they just did one recently where they were talking about some more games that they're planning for the rest of the year, and so maybe twice a year they're doing it. But it just didn't. It's almost like, I mean, for those that are like tech enthusiasts, it's kind of like when everybody used to show up at CES and do like their tech releases, and now, you've got Apple and their WWDC, and you got Microsoft's Xbox, their own announcement show, and Sony
everything used to be E3 and the
E3.
Everything was E3 gaming wise. Yeah, right, exactly.
Now that's all been broken out now. Everyone wants
direct access to the consumer.
Yeah,
and I almost feel like even Comic-Con's like that now too. Like there wasn't like any crazy big movies that like there were a couple things here and there, but even like Disney has their own D23 now where they release all their stuff, and so it's interesting. The I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
All right, old man. Devier Games, right? So they were at
another call.
Rob's calling back.
Beans and Dice Podcast. State your name. Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Chad Stilson from the chat.
Hey, Chad.
How are you?
Chad,
you feeling as old as we are?
Thank you for saving us, sir.
I'm feeling pretty old.
Chad, where are you out of?
I'm out of Michigan.
My man.
What's going on?
Yeah. Hey, I've been trying to call every now and then, but Rob keeps blocking me.
Oh,
I don't know why
Ron
that
Fraser?
happened. Keeps beating me to it.
Yep.
Well, you made it. You're in.
I'm here. So I have a question about plumbing.
Okay. Bring it. We're up on that top.
Oh man, I almost lost it.
No, I'm
gonna go get another beer. I'll be back.
Don't use PVC angle stop valves. That's all you need to know.
Oh, really? All right.
Oh, this guy, he knows the thing.
Claims guy, just like me.
There you go.
Oh man, how you guys kept a straight face? I don't know. But
I still don't know if it was a prank
this
or
guy
not.
over
I
here.
really
Come
don't.
on, man. Come on.
He committed. He
Yeah.
was very committed.
Yeah. And
Those
didn't
are
go
good
over the,
prank
didn't go
calls,
over the
though.
edge.
I'll
Yeah.
take those. That was I almost
Did-
cracked. I almost cracked towards the end. I almost.
What do you got for us, Chad?
So I got into this hobby, and a lot of it, in my secular work, I do a lot of art and design, so that kind of really got me into actually designing board games. And I designed a few, and I pitched them, and this and that, and nothing really came of it. But I've kind of been tracking what's been popular. I don't play everything, but I kind of know, what's out there, and I'm noticing a trend. I'm curious your guys' thoughts too, if this is like a trend to look out for in the future. So you got Marvel United. Now we got DC United. Mm-hmm. We have the Unmatched system. We have the Dice Throne system. And now we got like Rolling Realms. I follow Jamie Stegmaier pretty closely. We got Rolling Realms coming in.
Sure.
Another system that just keeps adding things to it. I'm curious your thoughts if you think the next big thing to hit gaming is a simple system that can just be, added on over time and just rake in the money like all these companies are doing.
It's become definitely a thing. I mean, it's not unique either just to the board gaming. I mean, people have talked about this in movies that a lot of we don't seem to have as many unique ideas or titles or IPs these days. That you've got things like the Marvel universe. You've got these tried and true things that are bringing in the crowds, and these big time movie companies and whatever just are going to keep running that till it's dry. I mean, they're going to keep milking it for all it's worth. And so I don't think it's unique to the board game industry, but I definitely think it's a thing. I mean, I was going to mention the, what do they call the, there's the pirate game, and then the one you just got, the going back to the zombie game,
the
Mike
Crossroads.
loves.
Crossroads system.
Crossroads system. I mean, that's not as prominent a example of that, but that's an older
But they're on
one.
the third one now.
Yeah.
They've got that's fourth
one now.
The
Yeah.
zombie one, the
Yeah.
pirate one, the post-apocalyptic, fantasy one,
There was a
and then
space
now
one.
they're going to space.
Yeah, there was a space one before. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they also
And they even got
going
Zombicide,
Right.
like Zombicide, that's another like system that they just keep coming out with. It's a little more,
of course.
that system's a little more intricate, but I'm thinking just, the very simple gameplay that, you add complexity with expansions.
I think one system that kind of has been going on almost since I started gaming, and again, I haven't been gaming that long, but the card crafting system with Mystic Vale was I think the first one that started that system.
Is it
Might have been.
Dead Reckoning? Is that the?
That's a new
Well,
one.
it's
yeah.
coming. I mean, the most current one is Dead Reckoning, which is the pirate one that's actually on Kickstarter right now. But that's gone through a couple of iterations. And even before the expansion for Dead Reckoning, they just did a new IP. And I'm trying to remember, I think it was a 1v1 card crafting system, but it wasn't as involved as how it has been up to this point. But it is the same designer. I can't remember his name. It's escaping me. But as far as one system, another thing like where you can just keep adding expansions to it is the Unsettled system. So you've got the base box.
Mm-hmm.
They initially had 9 planets, and just a week or so, well, a couple of weeks ago, they did like their wormhole event, which is like this thing that they're going to start doing now. And they released 2 more planets for it. So they're up to 11 planets. And again, it's just that you've got the base system, and the way that they kind of, when I went and picked it up in Vancouver, Washington, for the second Kickstarter, they basically explained it like this is kind of like your console and you're buying cartridges for it, and you're just plugging cartridges into it, and you're getting, even though it's not exactly a 1-for-1 comparison, but you are basically plugging in these planets, and you're playing different games with different mechanisms, but it's still rooted in the same system basically.
Well, I mean, we've seen that though, before
this is nothing
now.
new.
Yeah, nothing new, because Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
That's a system.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
Pandemic, that's a system. Catan, that's a system, right? So I think any publisher, like, they would love to have a system game or a rule set that they can mix and match and, clank, those kind of things, because that's the tentpole, right? That's their Marvel movie that then pays the Iron Man movie that pays for all the other projects that come out and all the other side games. But I don't think you'll ever. I think it's not that it's going to take over the industry. Right? There's always going to be those system games, and I think there is room for. I think Chad brings a good point. Is a simple system that is welcoming. That like I have the Unmatched, or I have whatever they are, and I can teach anybody it.
Yep.
I can pull people from non-gamer world and show them this little game, and they'll learn it pretty quick. And it's got different IPs. I think the IP part is big, is that can draw people in. But I don't think that's going to like replace like people coming out with Wingspan or the Castle Burgundy or other games that are one-offs that are things. But because I think it was Jamie that talked about like when you have a game that comes out. If you sell 100,000 copies of that game and you come out with an expansion, there's a certain percentage of people that are never going to buy the expansion. So I think even with a system, you get diminishing returns the longer the tail of that system is. It's kind of hard to, no one's going to have bought that 10th copy of Unmatched there's only a few people that are crazy that have everything that came out for Unmatched, right?
Right. But you also
Mhm.
think the amount of time and R&D that went into that original base game,
Yep.
that time tapers off as well for the expansions most likely. So the
Sure.
investment per return, or that ratio,
Right.
does it stay in line even though you have people dropping off? Is it obviously financially for a lot of these companies, it is worth it because they're keep riding it out until they can't anymore. But that's another point of view. But did you have a game in mind, particular, Chad, that you were thinking of that's like, other than the ones that I know you kind of set the topic, but any other ones that you thought of?
Well, and the thing that I think makes the United system and the Unmatched system, and even Rolling Realms system, and Dice Throne system, kind of unique compared to Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride, it's the same system, but yeah, each game you buy is a separate box. There's no mixing and matching to these things. You're not building on the same world. Those are completely separate games. And I think that's what's unique about Unmatched and United, that you can take this person and put them together with this person and use the base system to play a completely unique game. And I don't know, I'm just thinking like in my own head, games that I'm designing kind of in my head and, on my spare time. I like when a game is reduced to its very simplest actions in most games. But I always see that there's like this chance that you can build on it with expansions and then, bring in the complexity through that. And I don't have any other like games that are published, but I'm starting to see this trend of this type of thing where, you mix and match in the same world, and it creates so much replayability, first of all. And again, with the Unmatched system, you're going to fight Superman versus Captain America, and, you're going to mix and match even more with this stuff. So I just always thought that was very unique, very interesting, and certain systems like Catan and Ticket to Ride, yeah, that's always been around, but those are separate games that you can't mix and match. I think coming, these past couple years, you're seeing this really, really neat system where you can mix and match and create your own scenarios.
Hey, we were just talking about that. Nobody mentioned it on this call, but we were just talking about the Dune expansion, right? Being an expansion to two separate Dune games that you can insert into each of those Dune games. Well, we also touched on how those two Dune games can cross. You can play Atreides from the original Dune with Jessica from the Dune Uprising, right? You got the two different leaders that can be played against each other, and you can play them in each setting to kind of see how they would do differently in each of the two different board settings. So you're right. You're seeing that, and I think part of it is this. You talked about games, so I think of like Command and Colors system. It's a Richard Borg design system. Started with Battle Cry, which is the Civil War version. Right, all the way up until today, they're still coming out with new versions of the game. We're in medieval, we're World War I, we're World War II, we're all these different settings off this one base system. Want to play samurais? They got it. You want to fight ships in space? That system has it. My brain power isn't exhausted jumping from theme to theme to theme because the underlying bare bones are the same.
I think Chad is getting at, though, you can't take a portion of one of those games and mix it with another portion of the same underlying base of the game itself. So but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's
that's kind of where we've been, right? We've been doing that for the longest, where these systems have games that come out in different themes, but they don't cross over. Then we kind of hit this high mark of crowdsourced games where everything was an expedite shelf level of box size, right? It took up more than one shelf on your expedite, calyx, whatever you want to call it, bookshelf. We couldn't fit them on there anymore. They were huge because they came with everything all at once. I think that is starting to see its decline. Like, you're not going to see these huge campaign games as often, these large Frost Havens, Gloom Havens as often. And maybe they're starting to wisen up to say, you know what, if I want the people who are buying into the system, maybe I need to put them out at different cadences in different themes and let them pluck and play which themes drive their attention. I've got a lot of Marvel, Unmatched. Not just Marvel,
yeah.
Unmatched. I have a lot of Unmatched. And I've been very picky on which ones I buy because I buy the ones that only theme drives me in, right? So I got my dinosaurs, versus Deadpool, right? Like
Bruce Lee.
Versus Bruce Lee, and now soon, hopefully, Ninja Turtles, right? Like I haven't bought them all, but I'm definitely buying the ones that interest me. So that might be an avenue of approach in future design work. Is how do you create a cadence, a system, a plan to touch on with one bare bone rule set, multiple genres, multiple styles that can bring in a broader base of people who are going to pluck and play which ones they want. And then you'll have the Mikes of the world that need to collect them all because he already got the first one in that system. I got to make sure I have, collector's edition 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all in order in shrink.
Easy.
Show me where I attack.
And to that point, I think the Unmatched system and Dice Throne system are extremely wise to pick, like the Gunslinger or to pick Bigfoot, things that don't have IPs connected. So all that money that would be going to licensors, they're banking those things. I mean, CMON, they have those licenses, so they're swimming in the cash anyways.
Yeah.
But these other systems, I think, that's a really wise use of their game, finding a system where they can use, no IPs and creating something interesting that people will purchase.
Yeah. It's still familiar with people, but it's not necessarily an IP that you would have to pay royalties on.
That Dice Throne system, it didn't draw me in. It was Unmatched that got its hooks in me. And then when Dice Throne came out with Marvel, right, with their Marvel, that got me to jump over into dabbling into the Dice Throne world. So using those licenses that they spend a lot of money for, that they're not having as much cushion on the profit, is going to bring people into the other ones, the non-IP versions of their game. Because I want Krampus now, right? Because that sounds cool. So you're right. That plug and play an occasional IP focused one to get some eyeballs on it, and then when they find out, oh, by the way, we also have Sasquatch. Oh, okay, I'm in for that one.
Yeah, so that's really what I just called in about. I've been mulling it over, and I've just seen this trend, and I'm curious if you guys saw that trend or if that's something to expect in the future. I think if other companies picked up on this, they could really capitalize on it.
I haven't heard a whole lot about it, but I mean, it seems smart, right? I mean, you just design something that's, like you say, that's simple enough that anybody can learn it, anybody can pick it up and play it, and then you add maybe some levels of complexity, you add a lot of variety to it, so that if people want to go deeper, if you want to pick up heavier gamers or whatever, they have the option to add some modules or add some additional rules to suit their style. But you can also make it a welcoming game, something simple enough where new players, new gamers can jump into it, and then whether you go the IP route or whether you go stay in the fringes and try to, again, save that money and draw in who you can without the IPs. I mean, that's certainly from company to company, that'll be a decision that they make. But I mean, seems like a smart idea, right? I mean, and again, we talk about cash cows. If it's popular and it takes off, you've really done a lot with a little, and then now you bring in some money, you give more options. Maybe now you do bring in an IP and put it on top of it and bring in some other people. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like a smart idea. I haven't heard much about it. So, I mean, this is first time you've got me thinking about it, but I mean, it seems smart if people are picking up on that.
Robert doesn't get bit by the bug.
No, not really.
He's not the collector type. I know I am.
Nope.
I know I can get bit, and I'm like, okay, I got to have everything in that system. I know Wayne
Nope.
and his Tiny Epic collection. Just because he bought the first one, he's got to have the last one. So it
I
is
was the one out there buying all 5 versions of the Jim Lee X-Men comic book just to have them all.
the different
I
covers.
was that kind of guy.
No.
I've broke the habit mostly. I think Tiny Epic. Yeah, I don't know why I'm still
Who broke
buying
you
all those.
on Tiny Epic? Which one
Tiny
broke you?
Epic. That
No,
touched
I'm
you
still
in the
buying them
wrong
all.
place.
I've bought every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Rolling Realms. I bought it.
I think
But Rolling-
Vikings. Vikings is where I stopped. Like
Yeah.
once I bought Vikings, I don't chat if you got into the Tiny Epic thing.
I have not yet. No.
They're so small and they're so like
Some of them aren't
uniform
very
in size, and you can fit so much of them in a calyx. Like I don't even think twice buying one.
Yeah.
And then I realized I haven't played
kind
them.
of started down. I kind of started down that road with Rolling Realms, and I like, okay, I'm just not playing all of these anymore. They're so
Yeah.
small and so simple to just pick up.
And they only
I had
cost
to cut myself
$6.
off.
So cheap and
I know.
easy.
Chad, be honest. Chad, be honest. When did you order the Redux?
Oh, I haven't. I stood my ground.
It's okay. You're
for
amongst
you.
friends. You're amongst friends.
We're
You
not-
can be
we're not-
honest.
We're not going to judge you.
All right, I did.
Just don't ask me about the DC United.
Oh,
All right,
there
all
it
right.
is.
Went that
That's
route.
the
That was the poison.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was the meat hooks.
Yeah.
Chad,
Hey, guys.
tell the folks at home where they can find more about your merch. You got merch. You got some beautiful T-shirt merch, some great
Oh,
design work.
yeah.
Where can they find more about your merch?
Ooh, how to do that? It should be easy, right? If you go to
That would be the plan, Chad.
Marketing.
You want to make that easy? Do it. Do the Spaceballs thing.
Oh, merchandising.
if you go to cottonbureau.com and just search CBS INK, that's my stuff.
PBS.
Yep, CBS Inc. with a
Oh,
K.
CBS.
CBS.
Charlie
Okay.
Bravo Sierra.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
INK. Ink. Like
INK,
you're drawing, not
I see what he did there.
incorporated. There you go.
Throw a link up in the shameless plugs in the Discord for the folks at home. I know he mentioned he follows Stegmeyer. There's a lot of like Stonemeyer style-esque. I don't want to get like too
I don't want to get anybody in trouble or anything. Yeah.
So my theme.
Stone, yes,
There you go.
flavor.
adjacent themes.
There's
Yeah.
flavor in
He
those
knows
T-shirts.
all about them, so he's cool with them. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay with the theme. He's okay with that stuff as long as you don't directly rip off the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great hearing from you.
Hey,
Thank
guys,
you
have a
so
good
much.
night.
Yeah, don't be a
Yeah,
stranger.
thanks.
Calling him, man. I
All right.
appreciate that.
All right, cheers.
Bye. That's a great call.
Yeah, good call.
Good guy.
I think the it's interesting. 'Cause like Ticket to Ride's a system, right? Or Pandemic's a system, but then there's also you have to buy new games of that, right? You're it's the same game, but it's a whole new game, right? It's the same system, but like whereas like Unmatched or the Dice Thrones or the other ones, it's you're buying pieces and you're still playing the same game. So it's kind of like two different
Mm-hmm.
paths of how you develop a system. It's all one game and you're just buying, like you said, little new packs or a new world or whatever. Or Arkham, this TCGs,
Oh,
right?
That's
yeah,
the king of
Ran through my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's some crossovers. I was thinking about bringing that up because I mean those characters you can take into any of the what do they call the ethos packs or whatever, or any of the scenarios that you play through. So there is some of that idea of where you keep introducing new stuff, and you can go back and play those characters in the old scenarios. You can play the old characters with the new scenarios. So there's a lot of crossover there. But it's really like a little just mini expansions to the same thing over and over and over again. So I guess in my mind, I'm having a little trouble differentiating what we were talking about versus just expansions to games. But
if you think about it this way, it's like you said with Unmatched, you could from the original Unmatched that was released, you could take one of those characters and did I just lose you guys?
Nope,
we got you.
we're here.
Oh, okay. Something happened. I lost, can't hear myself now. But anyway, and then you can take a character from one that just got released today and mix the two together and it still plays exactly the same. Whereas I think what the lines that we were initially thinking were we've got this base system and we just keep adding stuff to that base system, but it's not like two totally separate things that you're mixing together and still getting the same gameplay experience. Like you can't take base Ticket to Ride and Ticket to Ride San Francisco and mix the two and get a new game out of it, or play the same game by mixing those two together. I think that's what Chad was getting at.
There's a lot of work involved. I know, Mike, you talked about the idea that as you produce more of this stuff in the future, that costs will cross over with the savings from all the R&D of it. But I think there's even more need for R&D, maybe a different type of R&D for compatibility, right? So like adding that Bruce Lee into the unmatched system could have broken everything.
A lot of play testing and
right. Like, this guy has these interactions. How does that apply to everything we've put out to date?
Yeah.
And Red Riding Hood all the way to dinosaurs. I like that idea of the future items being compatible with past items, because it kind of gives you a multi-reason to buy it. Right, whereas a figure pack, I know I said that wrong.
Figure?
I'm trying to figure out how to say that.
Figure.
Miniatures pack, right, in the future might just give you a character, a mini, right? But having a set like Unmatched does, where it's a on its own, maybe a 2-player 2v2 with a 2v2 map. Not only do I get new figures, miniatures, characters that I can use in past things, but I also get a new map. Right. So now maybe I want to use this map with something from the past. So like these multiple reasons to want to pick up that new item because of the way it can bring life to all the old stuff. Yeah. And for that reason, I keep buying.
Yeah. And I think Marvel United is exactly what he's talking about. You can take any hero, mix it up with any villain, and you can still play the game. You know,
then they added those villains that can act like heroes and back.
Right. And then you've got Marvel Champions, where they're releasing hero packs all the time, and you can mix and match any heroes that you want and play any mix of villains or storylines that you want. It all plays the same. Doesn't matter what you pick and choose. Or what was that term that you used earlier, Carlos? It was, what was it, pick and play or something like that?
Pluck and pick and pluck.
Yeah, pluck and play.
Plug and play.
Something like, very similar to that. So.
But how many systems can we be in at one time? Like I'm looking around, I'm like, ooh, I got a lot of these systems.
It may turn into like a life. What do they call it? A
lifestyle game.
Lifestyle game. You know,
or like or Sentinels and Multiverse for me, that's sat on the shelf in this.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Never gotten played.
And he thought the smartest thing he ever did was get rid of all the old stuff and buy the big box that comes with everything, so he can have it all fresh
and not play it. Big box, man. That's the killer of everything.
It
but the other thing financially that I was thinking of also that might play into it is, you know, if you get like a regular game that, you know, it is what it is. You play it for a little bit and you may sell it if you're kind of over it at that point. But if you get your hooks into somebody and they buy that base game and then you just slowly trickle out those expansions, they won't sell the used game on the market. They'll hold on to it, which makes people buy more new games instead of buying used games. Also,
Mansions of
that could
Madness,
also be playing into it.
Yeah. Insidious, Mike.
Yeah.
Right. For example, the Commands and Colors, right? They have all the different versions. I've sold like expansions to different themes, but I've always retained the base game.
Okay.
So I'll go in reverse order. Like I'll buy the base and then I'll get all the expansions because I want to make sure I have it all. And then I realize I'm never going to play all this. And then I start selling off just the expansions, which actually sometimes works out better because the expansions have such a smaller print run, especially like in the GMT worlds, that they tend to be hunted down. Right? Somebody else found the base game, but now they can't find expansion 2. Right? They got the game, expansion 1, but can't find expansion 2. And I'm working on getting rid of my collection, and I can piecemeal out those expansions, kind of like Muhammad did with his Marvel United. You know, I kind of cherry picked different versions out of his whole collection.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be playing some Marvel United this weekend. We got family in town.
Got you
they got an 8-year-old, I think going on 9, in visiting, and my aunt's like, bring some games, and we're trying to think of different games, and y'all mentioned Marvel United. I'm like, that would work.
Yeah.
Easy to learn.
Devier Games. Hotness out of Gen Con, right? So we went to Escape WinterCon. Mike had asked about a rock game of some kind.
Dice
but-
Harvey.
Dice Harvest.
Rock hard.
That was the only copy they
1977
had there.
Yeah.
And then, so that's the first time I ever heard of it, right? And then I see all this coverage coming out of Gen Con, including mainstream news articles
Yeah, New York Times.
about,
New York
the New York
Post,
Times,
yeah.
about
Times.
Rock Hard from Devier Games. I didn't realize this, that the designer,
It used to be the bass player for
Yep.
the Runaways,
Oh yeah.
the Runaways. Yeah.
And
that was an interesting article.
four-time Jeopardy champion.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what? I missed that one.
She's a four-time Jeopardy champion too. Yeah.
and,
I've actually read about like her story's fantastic. Like the fact that she was in the Runaways and she was like 15 or 16 at the time. Like that's
Female
Runaway.
bassist.
female
Only-
basis. Like that's kind of creepy.
What, 2 years or something?
Yeah, and then she
Wasn't
basically the
She went to law
industry was
school,
just- yeah, the
became a
industry
lawyer.
was So crappy and so horrible to her and other artists that she just never played again. She like left, became an entertainment lawyer defending young talent and stuff like that, and then got into board gaming in the last Jeopardy and all that stuff. Then got into board gaming and designed this, so it's kind of cool. The story is pretty cool. You gotta admit that it's a cool story. I don't know about the game yet, but the story's cool.
Yeah.
I got a comment in here. Will they, Jason Dunham says, will they do Harvey United next? I'm curious how you can make a chibi Richie Rich.
Oh my gosh, Richie Rich is a chibi already, isn't he?
So it's kind of like some throwback cartoons here. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, but Richie Rich at least. I don't know about Harvey.
Yeah, I don't know Harvey.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to catch on to the Harvey United. Is he
The
talking
Richie
about
Rich part, I can see it
Was
like being
Richie-
spread out to different comic books.
All right, I could be going off on a tangent. Did he mean Hanna-Barbera United? Wasn't Richie Rich Hanna-Barbera? I can't remember.
Was it? I don't know.
Anyway,
Have you, Mike? Have you speaking about the Rock Hard game? Have you watched any of the? I think Dice Tower actually did a game playthrough today. There's been a couple more playthroughs posted. Have you watched any more?
ever since I watched the review we just played that MVM did, Man versus Meeple, it has totally turned me off from the game. My interest went, it totally dropped off a cliff.
From
after I
11 to
heard
0.
that. They went from 11 to 0. Exactly. It was like they brought out the 3-foot Stonehenge, while they were on. If you saw Spinal Tap, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
It wasn't on Univision. I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, dude. It's
You've never seen Spinal Tap, man?
This
Este
is
va
Spinal
once.
Tap, man. It's like every trope that from
Is that,
hair
that's
bands
because,
back then.
Peter Guest, right? Or
It's
David
Squiggy
Guest. Is it
or
David Guest?
Lenny from Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and
Anyway,
Shirley.
that's how I always remember. it.
Dating yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I am dating myself.
That's
right?
old.
But anyway,
Yeah, I suppose
Yeah.
it was super popular at Gen Con. Was it Gen Con? Yeah.
Sold out, I think. It was like a huge pile of it gone at Devier.
Yeah.
hey man, more power to them. It doesn't. Those types of games just don't hit for me.
Yeah.
It just isn't my type of game. Initially, it was like the okay, so there was a comic book company that published Richie Rich.
Yeah, Harvey.
Yeah, it's
was
the
it?
old,
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't
Yes,
familiar.
oh, the Wendy, the good little one. Oh man, no,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not too old, Jason.
I remember Wendy. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I just don't know if those will hit today.
That's some
Yeah.
serious nostalgia.
You'd be
There. I
getting
don't
some
know.
older-
What is
An elder group there.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work.
OG Chibi. He was pointing out that Richie Rich was the OG Chibi, he says.
That's true. Yeah, you call it, Mike. You called it, yeah.
Mike called
That's
it.
But Spinal Tap is Christopher Guest. That's the right. He also
Christopher
did,
There you go.
Okay.
Waiting for
There you go.
Guffman and Best in Show. Yeah.
All right, in
It's
these last
just
few
like-
minutes of the show here, anything
Okay.
Gen Con wise that stood out that we wanted to draw attention to?
Not for me. Unfortunately, I was just so busy. I really didn't have a lot of time to pay attention to board games this past week. But after we get off this, I did play some games this weekend that I want to touch on one of them really quick. But let's finish up the
Wayne, any last thoughts on Gen Con that you saw?
No, I mean I did get a game from Gen Con. So
What'd you
buddy
get?
of mine, Capybaras. It's
Oh yeah, you've been talking about that one for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So buddy of mine that he works for game companies. He was there demoing. I forget what he was demoing. There's the one about the sky whales, Mistwind or something.
Oh,
Mythwind.
that one? That's been
Yeah.
out for a while, hasn't
Yeah, but
it?
they were demoing it. He was just working for the company demoing it.
Oh,
it was
okay.
like a Kickstarter, yeah. And so he was there before the halls opened, and he kind of just walked over to Kids Table Board Game. Was like, "Hey, can I buy one of those?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Okay."
Nice.
So I'll have it in the next week, probably for a
Nice.
while.
Got
So,
your
yeah, I'm
mules
excited.
out there, man.
Got my mule. Got to put them out there. Yeah.
All the way in South America,
Yeah,
all the way to
I'm all
Indy.
over the world.
Game mules.
So
Rob,
that's it.
any last thoughts on the Gen Con
Nothing I can
news?
remember. No, nothing. We covered everything I was interested in.
No, just glad to hear that the new expansion for Radlands Cults it sold out. So it sounds like it was popular. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of that.
Holy crap! Mistwind is just now fulfilling from
Yeah,
Kickstarter.
that's what they were. That's what their demo. He was.
Wasn't that all right? So do you guys remember? I think it was the quest for El Dorado, not the deck build, not the what's his name game, but it was like it came in that really nice black box with the gold lettering, the gold foil lettering.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the artwork on the inside was like I think
I'm
it was
picturing like hex board,
Yes.
hex tiles on the board. And
I think that's the company that did Mistwind, and I think Mistwind was the second game they ever did on Kickstarter. Please
Wow.
correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. But I could have sworn that already fulfilled, but man, that's been years. Holy
welcome to
crap.
Kickstarter.
I mean, like that's extreme, man. That's really extreme.
Mythwind, yeah.
Holy crap. If
All right,
that's what
recent
I'm thinking
plays,
it is.
Mike. Recent plays. You got some in?
So yeah, this past weekend I got a number of games in. I finally got my game of Shogun in, a 5-player game of Shogun, which I think it was everybody's first time playing at the table. Of course, they all love the Cube Tower. This is my heavy gaming group, that got into it. And we had a great time playing it. They said they really enjoyed it. Of course, the Cube Tower is the hit of the show. But before the 5th person showed up to play games, the first game of the day was War of the Ring, the card game, which I had never played before.
Mm-hmm.
What a slick game.
Oh,
that
it is good.
Isn't it?
It is
Such
good.
a good game, man.
Yeah, it is.
It was the thematics of it and how when, I mean, I'm just like picking things out of my head, like, Gandalf the White shows up and you can no longer play Gandalf the Gray. He's taken out of the game and you can only play certain characters during certain paths, like the 1 through 9 paths. And like totally, I mean, I know you guys talked about it before and it's even on one of your guys' lists, I think, isn't it? On your top 20 list. Did it make
17. It's
There
still,
you
I was
go.
looking how low it fell, but it's 17.
Yeah. And when you were talking about it, I was like, oh man, that sounds like a cool game. And then they suggested playing it. I was like, yes, I want to play this game. I keep hearing, being talked about.
Yeah.
Very slick game. I
good.
really enjoyed that game. Nothing
Yeah.
that I thought it would be anything that I'd even be interested in. And I was all about it.
Yeah, I need to play again. It's been about a little over a year, because I played it at Dice Tower, not the last one, but the one before.
Some things that you said there, Mike, about War of the Ring, the card game, that worried me getting into it was the railroading of theme, right? Because when you
Right.
really try to stay theme focused, you have to railroad a lot and tell you what you can and can't, who can be where and where they can't apply. And I wasn't sure how those restrictions would play out in the game,
Yeah.
but it really didn't feel too negative, I'll say. There were some moments where, like, dang it, all I've got is, or all William has is a bunch of elves right now, and he just can't use these elves for these battle because they're not available to that battle.
Well, I didn't play
But
into
then
the
it-
story that way.
but then it creates in a 2v2 world, it creates that conversation across the board. Like, listen, bro, I can't help you.
Right,
You've got to
exactly.
figure this one out.
On your own
you
on
know?
this one. I'm ready for the next one. But,
Right.
yeah.
And Dan and I had those moments where I'm like, Dan, you're the only one that can fight in this battle. I'm going to put
Right.
everything I got into the path.
Yeah.
Right. What, you know, and then I loved connecting the characters with the items, like watching them like bulk up, like, all right, well, here's your shield and here's your sword and here's
Right.
your magic cloak. Like I'm like loading them up
Bring
like
your character
Voltron.
back, and the fact, like, I was the elves, and then obviously the other person was the hobbits and whatever. I can't remember all the faction names, but like, because I was just the first time playing, I'm like, why the hell do I have this food in my hand that I can only feed hobbits with, you know? And then as we're playing the game, it dawned on me, oh, well, he can play hobbits, and then I can play the food on him.
Yeah.
And then
Team.
I was like, okay, yeah, this is really slick.
Couldn't wait to hit him with that lembas bread, could you?
Yeah.
like a game of Tonk, you're gonna slam it down.
Yeah, man.
Blagada.
There was no potatoes, though. That was the one thing that I was looking for.
Oh, you were looking for.
Yeah, boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
I gotta play this game.
So Jason commented, if you could flash those up on the screen, he corrected me, which I'm glad he did. It was El Dorado Games. They were named off of the first game that they did. They did Age of Atlantis, which is correct, which was delayed forever. And they're still working on fulfilling Legend Academy. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. And then the next thing, Windward. That's what I was thinking of.
That's it.
That's
Yep,
exactly
yep.
what I was thinking of. It wasn't whales. It was like flying
Yeah.
ships, maybe, or something like that. Didn't do too well, I think. But anyway, he had one other chat. Did he have one other chat in there?
Yeah,
There's chats. But anyway,
yeah,
this one
Mistwind.
is First Fish Games.
Yep. So there's Mythwind and Mistwind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mistwind.
Mythwind.
Mistwind is the one that my buddy was demoing.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Space
Thank you
Boy,
for
like,
correcting me, Jason.
Yep.
Cool.
And
All right, so
then
that was your
Chad with
report on
potatoes.
War of the Ring.
Yeah, that was.
I want to get
was
it to
just-
the table again, but like
I want to play again.
I don't feel like it's midweight enough.
Midweight enough.
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
to just grab any
Oh,
friends
no,
to
no,
throw
no.
in, like Mike Wilson
No,
or
it's a little heavy. Yeah.
It took a few hands for me to like,
Grasp
really
it.
process how to play cards and when to hold on to them and when to put them,
Prep
down,
them
but
out in
not
front of
play
you.
them out, and
Right.
yeah,
how to feel
was-
having to burn a card every time you played a card.
Yeah.
Oh, for crying out loud, man! And then every time the not Saruman, but who was the other one? It was like, how many cards did they have where it was like you had to burn a card? you know?
Sauron.
Yeah, you enjoy burning that card. God dang it, and then you have like 5
And that
cards
was
and you're
Dan
like,
playing Sauron. He
yeah.
had
I
a
can only
blast.
imagine him playing. Yeah, and it's like, of course, every card in your hand is a good card, and you're like, I don't want to burn any of these damn
Yeah,
cards.
that's always the feeling. But then you got to
Yeah.
get over that as you learn the cards. You learn, all right, this is going to be better at a different scenario a little later down the line.
right.
So let's just put this one down because they come back up. You burn them, but they go in, they get shuffled at the end of the deck and come back to you. So
Did anybody
was-
bring back any battles? Like
We only had maybe 1 or 2 that came back, but I loved like how that, it all plays into the theme. This was going on while that was going on, and you can pull this back, and how one, I forget which card it was, but it like ended that one path right then, and then it brought the next one out in that same number. You could do that. And by the time we got to the end of the game, because we pretty much came down to the wire, it was to the point where we were like, we don't have many cards left. Like, we got to figure out how we're going to win this game. And it literally came down to the last path. And it was only a difference of 1 point because one of the players on the other team didn't use their ring to draw 2. And it was that 1 point that got them the game.
wow, he saved the ring. We burned the ring like I think in like the first 10 minutes. Everybody burned their rings.
crazy.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, man. That
Yeah.
that confirms my feelings of that game.
It's a good game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing that one again and being somebody else, now that I
Yeah.
know how to play. Yeah, very cool
Cool.
game.
Nice.
What else? That was your big game day?
Yeah, I mean, we played 5 games that day, mostly Japanese trick takers. Oh, we did play Sardinia. I forget how it. how
Oh
it's-
yeah,
I don't
saw
know how
you
it's
post that
pronounced.
one. Yeah, the little map.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool game, and it's neat because the box basically comes apart, and that's what the map is. It
Oh.
becomes the map itself.
Cool.
It's a little origami to get it back together, but yeah, very plays quick. I think we learned it and played it in 45 minutes, maybe.
Nice.
But there's like a row of cards. It's like a scoring game where it's area majority, but you're also there are certain workers that you can place out that will prevent other workers from going in that area. And then depending on, there's like a market of cards that tell you what section is going to score for that round. And each card, everybody has the same cards in your hand, and as you're playing the cards, you're putting pieces out, whether you're building things with your architect card or whatever. But when you play, I forget the name of the card, but when you play that card, it basically ends that round and you score whatever the next one in line that card is for that section. And then it's area majority, and you get points based off of that. And then everybody picks up all their cards, and then you start the next round. Well, it reveals the next card. So you can either take the next card that's revealed. If you're the one that scored that round, you can either choose to keep that card in play, or you burn it and then you top deck it for the next one, and you have to keep that one. So it was kind of interesting, because in the beginning you're kind of like building up areas so that you have the majority in those areas. But then when it got down to like the last 4 cards in the market, everybody was like practically throwing down the one card to score like almost immediately for that round. So it was a very cool game, and minimalistic, like a very small box where you could take it to most places. And also it was 2 pieces that made the map, and the ends were magnetized, so it kept them together, so the map wasn't splitting on you. Yeah, it was very nice, very, very good production, even though it had somewhat basic wooden pawn pieces and such. But yeah, I enjoyed that one. That one is one I would like to have in my collection if I ever got the chance.
Nice, cool.
Yeah. Anything else from you guys?
I'm taking a quick look here. So I mentioned I played a couple nights ago. I got to play for the first time Return to Dark Tower. And I was looking because we played with one of the expansions. I played with Brian Zeno. He owns all the stuff. He told me how much he spent on all that stuff. Yeah, it's a pretty penny. And he was talking about buying some Etsy aftermarket editions. But so he's going to spend a bunch more. But anyway, we played with one of the expansions, Alliances. That was the one we played with. And this is the first time I played. I was impressed. I know I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on this. I never played the original Return to Dark Tower. This is Restoration Games. So this is an older game that they redid and brought back. The really cool digital tower in the middle is awesome. I know it's the toy factor, and this one is big. But you talk about cube towers when you talked about Shogun. It's the same kind of thing. You're dropping these skulls into this. It's basically a cube tower. When you look down in it, it's got these different shelves and these different levels. They catch up in different areas. And then during the game, the tower will turn to different sections of the map, and then different doors will pop open and skulls will roll out, and then you have to place them there. It's kind of like blight that's blighting the different areas of different lands, and so you're placing those out. So it's you can play it cooperative or competitive. We played cooperative so that we could learn it. We had 4 players, 2 new players, me and another player. We're brand new to it. 2 of the players had played several times before. And a lot of variability in this one. You have to have an app. I'm doing a quick overview because we're getting kind of late here, but you have an app that you're playing on, so it's definitely technology heavy. Again, you've got this toy tower that's really cool in the middle of the table, lights up, pieces
sound
come
effects.
off. Yeah, sound effects, pieces come off of it, and it affects the different lands. You uncover these runes that make different actions more expensive or more difficult in the different areas that they're facing. Tons of variability in this. There's variability in the characters, the heroes that you play. The Alliances expansion we played adds guilds for each of the 4. There's a north, south, east, and west kingdoms around the sides of the board, and each one of them had a guild that we randomly placed out, and they had characters that we could recruit from these guilds, and each guild had a 4-stop track on it that you as you recruited these characters, you would advance the different guilds, and they all start out, the first 2 spots on each of the guilds were negative effects while you were in that region, in the north, south, east, or west. Like the one I started out in, all movement was -1. But as we recruited characters from that guild, it gave us a companion that did something for us. And then you also enter in the app that you have that companion now, and then events will happen. All of a sudden, the companion will be like, hey, everybody who's in the West with me now gets a bonus thing or a bonus action or whatever. And so it was really cool. I was really impressed. Some people have played this from what I've heard and have found it to be don't want to say easy because I know it's never been called an easy game, but I found it to be too basic, I guess, not heavy
Like it
enough.
played itself almost.
Right,
Is
exactly. I did not
Okay.
find that at all. Again, one play, we played, again, two of us were learning. Two had played before. We played for almost 4 hours. We got about 2/3 of the way through it and lost. I mean, we were probably slow because of, because we were
Well,
had
yeah.
a couple new players, but it was longer than I thought it was going to be. Zeno had told me to allow a good 4 hours. I figured 4 hours if we played through and beat the whole thing, but we only made it about 2/3 of the way through and ended up losing. But I am itching to play this one again. I told Zeno definitely anytime he wants to pull this one out again. And
That's normally not the case when you play with Zeno.
No. He talked about Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea up and down and sideways while we were there. And I told him, like, man, you love that game, but I do not like that game. But,
Like Rob will always join Zeno for a game, but then
Yeah.
walk away like that was not
my game.
what I. Yeah.
TI4.
So listening to you talk about
Yeah,
very different experience.
Yeah, I was impressed. I really liked this one, so I'm definitely looking forward. So my initial impression is definitely a thumbs up. If I get another player or two in, maybe I'll feel comfortable giving some beans on it later. But I liked it. I went into it expecting, all right, this is it's a restoration game. And my experience with restoration games has been
Mixed.
they feel like old games that they add some new stuff to, but you can kind of still see the old bones there.
Yeah.
This one felt like, I mean, again, it's probably because of the app and all the technology and everything. It
Sure.
felt like a modern game. It did not feel to me like an old game that had been dug up and
Interesting.
reskinned. So I liked it a lot. I really like it. So I recommend. I'd say if you get a chance to try it, try it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's been on my list to try, but it's kind of been like, I don't know if I want to play that. But with you talking about it,
Yeah, Ron Fraser talked it up big.
Yeah,
on the show.
That's right. Some people seem to really like it, and I've heard some kind of fairly negative reviews of it. So I was going in kind of not expecting too much, but maybe that's the best way to do it. Because every time I go into a game really expecting good things, I'm always disappointed. But this one, I kind of went in, kind of tempered a little bit on it, and I like it. It's good. Yeah.
yeah.
That's. I played Frosthaven once this week. I played Jaws of the Lion a couple times this week. So I'm still working through all those big campaign games. But that's been it for me this week.
Nice. Wayne, have you played anything?
Just Campaign Trail and Quacks of Quedlinburg this week.
Quacks
Ooh,
is good.
Quacks is good.
There you go.
Quacks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
taught my wife and our friend Max, who's in town. So we racked through that once, and then they were both like, "Let's just do that again." So it was good. So
It's a good one.
I've been big on Draftosaurus
Okay.
in
Okay.
solo mode. I found a solo variant for Draftosaurus, and it
The guy
has
that
been
doesn't play solo games, he's
Yeah,
like
doesn't like-
seeking out the solo
Everything's
rules and
solo
stuff.
now.
Solo
Yeah, everything's
variant.
solo.
I don't know why. Like, okay, so we're talking about visiting family and whatnot. This is one of the games that I was like, okay, this is a game that I want to get out for family more. Let me go remember how to play the rules, right? So I usually bust out and play two-handed or something. But I was thinking, well, I wonder if there's a solo rule for it. And there's a nice solo set. Very simple, folks. You play Draftosaurus, set it up for a two-player game. The only difference is you have two boards. One is the summer board and one is the winter board. You're playing on both. The end of the game, you're going to score your lowest scoring board. What's going to happen is you're going to roll the die and apply the die to one board, so summer board. On the next turn, you'll roll the die and apply it to the next board. So each draft, the die will jump from board to board. So one board, you're playing free. You can just put them anywhere. The other board, you're restricted, right? You're going to draw two dinos out of the bag and chuck them. So you get to see what gets chucked out of the bag. You'll draw two and then decide which sides you want to place them on. One board has the die restriction, the other one doesn't.
Oh,
You just
interesting.
alternate going back and forth in this model until the end of the game. So you kind of see what's being pulled out of the bag, what you're not going to have access to, what the chances are that you'll need or get. And then you just score it up at the end to see which board has the lowest, and that's your overall score. And there's just like a ranking system. If you score 35 or more, you're bronze. Score 45 or more, you're silver.
Right.
Kind of a way to play it. But it's 10 minutes, and it's super simple setup, and it feels like a roll and write without having to write on paper or all that. It doesn't take up a lot of space.
Interesting. Okay.
But it got me. I don't know what got me back to Draftosaurus, but then I also watched some videos about it being two-player. What a good two-player game it was. So I'm looking forward to getting it in as a two-player game. Because apparently when you play at two players, the drafting part really matters. Like at this point, you're chucking dinos out, so you really want to chuck dinos that your opponent needs and keep dinos that you need.
Right,
So Draftosaurus, I think 4 plays since we last got together. And then I've got a game of, again, I never play solo except for when I do, Awakening the Bear, Conflict of Heroes. This was the game I told you guys about that I was like fighting myself at Dice Tower not to buy. Like I can't buy this game. I just can't buy this game. Oh, don't put it on the side.
Edition? No?
It's all chits.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh, no, I'm gonna turn it around.
Rob's
Shake
standing
it
up.
around.
It's all
I'm gonna
chits.
shake it up good.
Oh man, but I opened up the 3rd edition copy because I was gonna buy it at Dice Tower, but I told myself not to. I have too many games. Don't buy it. I bought a extra dice set that can help you convert 2nd edition to 3rd edition. But like I said, I found out I already bought 3rd edition, so I opened it up, punched it. It came with game trays.
Oh,
Already built in. You did that too, Mike. It came with game trays already built in, so I was able to punch everything. And actually, you probably could stand it up because the game trays are holding everything in.
let's try it.
We can do it.
No, really?
I trust it actually because it's got the
boy.
full game trays now. Before it didn't have game trays, but it's all chits and counters, individual game trays all set up. What's really cool, Mike, you'll appreciate this. The cards are plastic now.
Oh, nice.
It was stand it up there for a second, give it a little wiggle. Let's see what they did with 3rd edition.
I didn't hear anything moving around.
No.
No?
The boards, oh my God, these are thick, like double C thick. Check these out, Robert. Check out those counters, how thick that is.
Yeah.
This is, and here's the game trays. Look at these.
Oh, yeah.
Individual game
These aren't going
trays.
anywhere. Yeah.
Nice.
Well
Very
done.
nice.
Very well done. So I'm glad I got it out. I played it a 2-handed game. I have the solo expansion that gives you an AI system, but I just went ahead and played two-handed. And when I went to shuffle the cards,
Solo
never play
expansion.
solo.
No,
Never play solo.
Except when I do. So I'm so glad, number one, I didn't buy another copy of this while
Yeah.
at Dice Tower.
Could have given me a copy.
But what it did was it made me look at my own shelf and realize I have it, and now I've gotten it, I've tabled it, and I'm looking forward to teaching it to get it played maybe with William, another wargamer. I taught Rob 2nd edition years ago.
Yeah, we played 2nd edition.
This is very much...
I do remember that one.
This is very much more of a Euro-y war game in the sense that you're using action points and cards to maneuver things. The only dice rolls are really for the attacks. But you have resources, action points you can use to improve all your odds. So using them at the right attack is what matters. So Conflict of Heroes, Awakening the Bear by Academy Games.
Nice.
That's what I played.
You mentioned Dice Tower because of Conflict of Heroes, and we mentioned Gen Con. Obviously don't have time tonight, but we're going to go over the Dice Tower Awards. I have a particular reason to want to do that because
Oh, of
somebody
course.
did well at predictions again this year.
Whatever.
Let's just
Anyway.
that one. Don't need to
But
talk
we'll,
about that.
we'll do that next week. That'll be one of our topics next week.
Hey,
Dice
next
Tower
week.
Awards.
Dice Tower Awards, yeah.
Real quick, yes or no? Have you played Brian Baru yet?
It's
Just
a
say yes
three-player
or no.
game.
We talked
no,
about it. We
it's
talked about
three-player. It's
Whatever.
Actually, we
Okay,
talked
just
about
mail
it
it to
after the
me
show
and
last
then
we
week.
did talk about it. Yeah.
It's that 3-player aspect. It's hard for me to table that.
Got to get Wayne over here.
Yeah. There we go. That's us this week, and we'll see y'all next week. We do it again. Talk about more board games. Get more phone calls. Talk to you, and thank you all for watching. I'm Carlos.
I'm Rob.
Well, Mike.
And I'm Wayne.
Thanks for watching the Beans and Dice podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, we played Dixit too. Good night, everybody.